Yes, I'm Batman.
I'm Batman. I'm Batman, Alfred.
I'm Batman.
I am Batman!
I'm Batman.
I'm Batman.
Greetings, Bat Family. Welcome back to Holy BatCast, brought to you by Real Fans for Real Movies. Please visit our website, holybatcast.com. It's where you're going to find episodes of this show and everything you need, anything Holy BatCast related. So go there, holybatcast.com. You can also find us all over the other websites that you probably frequent, like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Just search for Holy BatCast, and you'll find us. We are also on Patreon, so if you'd like to, you can go to patreon.com/holybatcast and become one of our patrons. It's just helps us keep the show rolling. Random expenses do pop up here and there, which is odd, I know, but it happens. So, please and thank you if you would like to do that. No pressure, but we do appreciate everybody who has done that. So big shout out to our patrons. You guys are awesome. We're a part of the Real Fans Podcast Network, so if you want to check out some of those shows, you can find them all at rf4rm.com. As always, I'm your host, Andy DiGenova. Hello, and if you'd like to follow me on social media when I'm not talking about Batman, you can find me on Twitter or on Instagram. It's just my name, Andy DiGenova. Now, this episode is a celebration of the 5th anniversary of Man of Steel, and in celebration, we thought it would be fun to do, I think it's only our second ever commentary track. So we're going to do a commentary for Man of Steel from us to you, because we love you, and joining me, we've got the Lois Lane to my Kal-El. It's Jamie Drewley. Hey, Jamie.
We're not going to measure anything, so I'm happy to be here, and that's high praise, calling somebody Lois Lane as far as I'm concerned.
Maybe you're more of a Zod. I don't know.
It probably is more fitting, yeah.
Maybe both. I don't know.
I take either one as high praise.
Well, like Lois Lane always has Superman's back, I feel like you've always got my back. So how's that work?
That's very sweet.
Yeah.
Making me blush.
So it is just the two of us. We wish that Brendan could join us today, but unfortunately he is busy. He is currently hosting a 17th anniversary screening of Crocodile Dundee in Los Angeles, which he insists is the best Crocodile Dundee.
I'm a big fan of both of those movies. I don't acknowledge the existence of a third one.
I mean, you don't have to, because Brendan likes to celebrate it all year round.
Hey, if he wants to pick up the slack and roll with it for his countrymen, so be it.
So anyway, Brendan, good luck with that. I hope you have enough people to help you manage the crowds, but we miss you. Maybe next time. But anyway, this is going to be a long episode because it is not a short film, so I think we should just get it started in the interest of respecting everybody's time. So without further ado, it is the 5th anniversary commentary track of Man of Steel. Now, like we've done before, I'm watching this on Blu-ray. So if you've got it on Blu-ray, it might be the best way to watch it. I have it queued up to 0000. I liked before someone gave us the recommendation of like, oh, well, hit pause as soon as the Warner Brothers logo fades out, because then no matter what you're watching it on, it should sync up. The problem is this movie isn't set up that way. The Warner Brothers logo is part of the movie, so it doesn't really work out. So I'm going back to the 000 plan. It should be close enough, but
yeah. I mean, mine shows, my little display thing in the bottom here. I've got it queued up to all zeros, and it says the time remaining is 2 hours, 22 minutes, and 59 seconds.
All right.
Does yours show that also?
Well, I don't know. Let me look.
Because I'm watching the 4K Blu-ray because I'm cool.
Ooh. See, so mine, it says 2:23:02.
Oh, my goodness. We're 3 seconds off.
Yeah, I don't know what that's all about. But anyway.
You have the Snyder cut.
I do. I do. It just has one extra slow-mo shot of a bullet falling in slow motion. That's how you know it's a Snyder cut. Anyway, so yeah, I'm doing the Blu-ray because I tried to do one of these before, and I did it streaming, and of course that was the time that streaming decided to act up and screw up the entire thing. So Blu-ray is going to work. Here's the good news. Most people listen to these without even watching the movie. Secret.
That's true. Most people listen to it in their car. I know I do.
They just listen to it, and most of the people who listen to this show know the movie well enough that they're like, yeah, I get the gist. So, but if you are committed enough to actually watch the movie with this, kudos to you. I respect that commitment. I don't think I've ever watched one of these movies with a fan commentary. I've listened to fan commentaries, but just like I would listen to any podcast.
Are we going to do we got to have the Lethal Weapon 2 conversation. Is it going to be 3, 2, 1 and then hit play on 1, or 3, 2, 1 and then hit play?
3, 2, 1, play.
3, 2, 1 and then hit play.
Yes.
Okay.
Does that work?
Yeah, that works for me just fine.
Okay. All right, so here we go. I got the sound off, the subtitles on, 000 on my Blu-ray player, and we're getting ready. And because I can't really edit or pause this, I have my loud cat next to me, and I can make no guarantees as to whether or not he might start making noise.
Well, I'd be interested in his thoughts on the movie as well. I've never heard him.
He's a big fan, yeah. And he's deaf, so he doesn't care if I'm watching it with subtitles. He actually probably will enjoy it more.
Nice.
Yeah. So, okay, here we go. You ready?
I'm ready.
Here we go. Man of Steel commentary in 3, 2, 1, play. There we go. All right. We're in business. And see, there is the WB logo, but it is the Kryptonian WB logo. And it's just woven right into the movie, so there's not much you can do.
I was going to say, I don't read Kryptonian well enough to say what that said on the side of there, but I'm sure it was something meaningful.
It says, welcome to the movies. Please enjoy popcorn and soda pop.
I like these things.
Yeah.
It's a little reminiscent of Batman 89 here, although much more fast-paced and not... you know what I'm saying? Just kind of feeling that, in and out of the stone of the logos there.
Right. Absolutely. And I mean, unlike Batman 89, we don't get opening credits other than those logos. So it can't be as long as and involved as Batman 89. You just get all the production logos, which there are many.
I was going to say, a lot of people worked on this movie, at least as far as the production side of it.
Yeah, because it was Warner Brothers, it was DC, it was Legendary, and then it was Syncope, I think. Anyway,
yep.
All right, I have mixed feelings about the very opening shot of Lara grunting and sweating in extreme close-up. I don't, it's a jarring shot. It's not my favorite, but here's what I love about this opening of the movie is the movie opens the moment that Kal-El's life begins.
Yes, I like that a lot. I think she's incredibly calm. Maybe this is a Kryptonian thing, but
this is calm.
Yeah.
Having never gone through this myself, to me this doesn't seem calm. She's pushing and doing her thing. She's
made no threats to cut off any of his anatomy or break him in half or don't ever touch me again. I mean,
that's how you know this is a fantasy film. I will say, as far as newborn babies on film go, that one looks pretty newborn, pretty gooey.
Yeah. You don't get a lot of the whole gunk in a lot of these movies.
Yeah, a lot of the movies they come out and they're pretty.
Love these creature designs everywhere.
Me too. Yeah, as soon as they cut away to this, when we went and saw this, I was like, oh, we get like a fully fleshed out Krypton for the beginning of this film. And just look at the scope of this movie already from the beginning. Like,
I know, it's so grand. It's amazing.
There was so much work done on Krypton that they could have made a Krypton movie before Man of Steel. Like, it is completely fully fleshed out. And unlike unlike Superman the movie, like, I actually can understand that people live here. That was always my issue with Krypton.
Like a barren, frosty wasteland.
I'm like, where are people's beds? Where's the grocery store? In this one, I'm like, oh no, this feels like a functioning planet, and we get Russell Crowe as Jor-El. I think one of the highlights of this movie.
I love Russell. I'm a big Russell Crowe fan. I mean, whatever you want to think of him as a person, as an actor, I just absolutely love that guy. I agree. His Jor-El for me is certainly one of the highlights of this movie.
Absolutely. He's so good in this. And then we get the man, General Zod and Feora.
Richard Citrone on the far right there.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to point that out. Our pal Richard's in the back. Just blast that lady right up in there. So Speaking of highlights of this movie, I remember when they cast Michael Shannon as Zod, and it was just met with a raised eyebrow from me. I just went, really? That guy? Not that I didn't think he was a good actor, I just couldn't picture it. And then I see his performance and I see how he looks, and I'm like, oh man, like that's one thing that I think Zack Snyder is so good at is casting. And
I fully agree. You probably never watched Boardwalk Empire, did you?
No, I didn't.
Okay, well, I watched Boardwalk Empire and watched his performance in that, and he plays a really zealous law officer against prohibition in that TV series. Mm-hmm. And as soon as his casting was announced for me anyway, I was like, oh, this is going to work just fine.
Yeah, for me, it was kind of out of left field. And when it comes to casting, I'm pretty accepting overall. There are very few castings where I go, bullshit. But this was one where I went, okay, I didn't see that coming. And then, of course, he steps up and he's just so great in this role. And this movie, like, it just hits the ground running. We are thrown into Kryptonian drama. Oh, there's Richard talking. Yay, Richard. And Jor-El, not only brilliant and badass, but like can handle himself in a brawl.
Very convincingly, in fact.
He's not going down without a fight here.
I love the technology on Krypton as well. Like the way everything morphs with like that liquid metal kind of a style.
Right.
It's just really appealing to me as they go out through the movie and they continue to use it on board the ships and everything. I just think it's fantastic.
Well, and it's so different. It's
my
so
favorite
unlike
shot.
Anything.
Believe it or not, this is my favorite shot in the entire film. He runs out there on that deck. This war is going on all around him, and it pans out, and he calls out for Haraka. I got to the point after the third time I saw it in the theater, I yelled out Haraka with him because I loved it so much.
Haraka does not get nearly enough love. Haraka is one of my favorite characters. When this happened, I was like, okay, Jor-El rides a dragon? I love this movie. I am so in. I never was able to get my toy of Jor-El with Haraka.
It should happen. Yeah.
Hot Toys, if you're listening.
Well, that's
got some
a
fans out there.
$500 dragon that takes up an entire coffee table.
Well, see, I guess I should count my blessings that they never released it, because otherwise I would buy another thing that I have no room for.
Right.
But again, look at the scope of this film.
I know it's magnificent. People who love the show are probably going to hate me for this, but I'm just going to come out and say it right now, and then I'm going to leave it alone because I don't want to get into a pissing contest over it. To me, this is what the Krypton TV series is missing, is I do not feel anywhere near this scope and scale on that show.
Well,
nor do I feel the characters are nearly as compelling. But that's
I think that's to me that's the bigger issue. But yeah, I mean, you're right. Like, yes, we know it's a Sci-Fi Channel budget, but it just it feels small. It feels very set based, and this thing is huge. We get the introduction of the Genesis Chamber here, and again, like this movie, you're already sucked in with Jor-El's mission to save what's left of Krypton and breaking every law in order to do it. I love the immediacy and how high the stakes are from this very beginning.
Yes. One thing we're going to lack watching it in commentary mode here that is going to be unfortunate, but I know it pretty well, is the Hans Zimmer music that I'm not going to be able to hear, although I can play it in my head because I've seen it enough times now for the most part.
I 100% agree with you. That's the biggest problem with watching it like this, because Hans Zimmer's score to this film is, I think, one of the great superhero scores. It is just so good, and it adds so much to the film. It elevates the film, and even rewatching this last night, because we hadn't quite decided if we were doing a commentary yet, even rewatching it last night, the music just brings this whole thing to life. It's so terrific. It's one of Zimmer's masterpieces.
I fully agree. The only one of Zimmer's scores, and I love a lot of Zimmer scores, I mean, Gladiator and just on and on. The only one I have on par with this one as far as the amount of times I have listened to it is Inception.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, he's always really good, but this one, I mean, and he had a tall order to fill here. You have to follow up John Williams's Superman, and that's another one of the great superhero scores. Guess what? I can love them both. You can't make me choose. But following that up, that is no small task. And Zimmer stepped up and just created something, just again, a masterpiece. So poor Haraka's got a bum wing, which depresses me and makes me sad every time.
Well, here's the thing. The first time I watched this, I was really mad, like mad, because I hate it when animals die in movies.
I know.
It drives me nuts. But then I realized the whole friggin' planet's about to go up. It's
That's
not
true.
like this thing was going to get on a ship and leave.
They're all on. Maybe there's a version of this where instead of Kal-El, they put Haraka in a pod and send him to Earth.
I'd watch that.
And it's called Haraka of Steel.
I'd definitely watch that.
Yeah,
I love the idea that Jor-El, as he's getting ready to send him to Earth, understands so many of the changes that are going to take place when he does so. It's not like he just found a place with a hospitable atmosphere and sent him there. It's like he knows the genetic structure and the benefits that he's going to reap from sending him there. I think that's a nice touch. I don't know if there's any comic book precedents for that I can readily think of.
There is. Jor-El usually has done his homework on Earth, but this one takes it a level deeper, which I think is true about this entire movie, is they take the Superman legend and just dig deeper and give it more shades of gray, which not everybody liked. But I love this scene because every time we have seen Kal-El put into the pod and sent off to Earth, they're way too okay with it. They just do it so easily. And I love that Lara is like, I can't do it. This is my child. I can't send them up. What if he dies alone in space? I'll never see him walk. I'll never hear him say my name. And I love that like they take the moment to have that very real emotional beat of like, this would be the hardest thing you could ever do, is to put your newborn child into a basket, if you will, and hope that everything turns out.
She doesn't have but probably 6-7 lines of dialogue, if that. But she sells it so well. I remember her every time I watch the movie. Like the instant you see her face, it's like, yeah, it's like I remember everything that she does in the film. It's like she gives a really memorable performance with that, and I think that's commendable.
Yeah, I agree with you. She, I was not familiar with the actor prior to her being cast, but she's great.
Yeah, and she seems to have, and I've never, looked up to see if they're from the same place. She and the one that plays Fayor seem to have a very similar accent, which to me goes more in depth with that world building, that they're both from Krypton, but they both have accents that are similar to each other's, but different than Jor-El's, that are different than Zod's. It's like, they might have different regions there, much like we have on Earth, where people would speak differently. I think that's incredibly well done world building.
Yeah. We just saw the command key with the House of L logo. There is something so pleasing about the way it just slips right into place. It makes my OCD so happy about how perfectly it fits into that little hole and goes just flush against the thing. I love it. It's a great image.
That's the key I need for my next car.
Yeah. It's a great image. It's a great little MacGuffin of that command key. I love that because I think that is also a new piece of the mythology that this film introduced.
As far as I can tell, yes. I mean, it sort of replaces the crystals that were used in the Reeves films, but
yes, that's exactly it. It replaces that, but I think it's great, and I love that it has taken on a little bit of a life of its own after this movie in just 5 short years. So, that you did something right when that happens.
Absolutely,
I agree.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I agree with you about all this, the liquid metal technology. It was just such an inspired choice to give Krypton a technology unlike anything we have on Earth and unlike anything we've ever seen in a movie, but is so distinctive to just Krypton.
I can't not see Richard now.
I know. Richard, we're trying to watch Zod, damn it. Stop being so cool in the back.
I want to take this moment to reiterate my thoughts from when we did the recording after we saw the movie at the Navy Pier IMAX together. I still believe, after watching these Krypton sequences, even watching this movie for the second time today, hell yes, Zack Snyder's qualified to direct a Star Wars movie.
I would love it. And he would. He's so into it. I think that would be amazing. But could you imagine the shit show that would occur when that announcement was made?
Oh, man, there would be so much crow that would need to be eaten.
Oh, but I would be all for it. I think I would
be there. I mean, not like I'm not there like opening day for every other Star Wars movie, but man, I would set my countdown timer for that like instantly.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, the fact that Zod is present for the launch of Kal-El, again, a tweak of the legend, but adds so much more drama to the proceedings, is he's trying to stop this launch. So you get this ticking clock where it is that much more important that they get this thing launched before Zod's able to stop it. I think that's great.
Definitely.
It's really exciting. It's really dramatic. There's that cut on Zod's face that becomes a scar later on in the film. This is a great fight too.
Oh, it's fantastic. And the armor, isn't all the armor in this film CGI?
Most of it is. I mean, I know I've seen some of the armor in real life, but I think the vast majority of it, especially when they have to move like that.
Yeah. No, it's a fantastic fight. It's well done. You feel a lot of the weight of it. If I want to get nitpicky about this, and I don't because I absolutely adore this movie, I would question why a scientist knows how to fight as well as a soldier in this.
Yeah, Kryptonian. I think that's fair. Jor-El is kind of good at everything.
Yeah.
He's really good at fighting. He's a scientist. He's brilliant. And he's really good at monologuing. He has a lot of skills.
He does.
So I think it's valid. To back up a notch.
Oh, go ahead.
No, just to back up one quick step. I have mixed feelings about the codex being embedded into Kal-El's cells. I've never totally loved it. I like it as a great motivator for why Zod would seek him out. But I just always thought it was weird that it was now part of Superman's DNA. I always thought it was a really interesting choice, and I've never fully loved it. So just
because it becomes impossible to really separate it from him at that point. It makes him the object of desire at that point instead of being something that, the people that find him on Earth could have destroyed the ship and everything in the ship with him. So it would have destroyed the codex at that point, and they didn't want that to happen. But obviously he felt like they're going to try and care for the child that they find inside of this ship. Mm. And if this is part of him, they won't know a lick of difference with it. So I get it. I think it's a little strange, but I go with it.
Yeah, I do too, because again, it does make sense, because if it was just that codex itself stuck in his baby carriage, it would have been very easy for Zod to go, yoink, all right. By making it part of him, it makes things a lot more complicated.
I love this shot right here.
Yeah.
How it zooms in on the ship right as it hits that warp drive moment. I think that's fantastic. There are a couple of questionable things that I have with the directing in this film, and I'm a huge Snyder fan, so you can at me all you want. I'm not going to read it right now anyway. But
no, I'm with you though. Here's the thing though, like you can love a movie and still admit there are a couple little things you don't love about the movie. That's okay.
We'll get into it when it comes up. But like some of the shaky cam stuff that's in moments where it doesn't seem like it really needs shake. Everything that has to do with that sun in the background just looks magnificent.
Oh yeah. No,
but
and
remember,
honestly,
there's no color in this movie.
Oh, I totally. It's black and white. I love it. Reminds me of an old Universal monster movie. I agree with you about the shaky cam. It's one of the things I don't love about the movie. I get why Snyder made that choice. He wanted it to be energetic. He wanted it to be in the moment. He wanted to make it feel a little more real. I just think that it's not always the best choice.
Shannon's performance here is on point too.
This scene, Zod's performance in this scene is one of my favorite things in the whole movie. It is one of my favorite comic book villain scenes on film. I can just watch him talk. I can just watch the scene over and over again. And the fact that it's, I will find him, I will find him, I will find him. And each time he says it differently, this is just amazing acting.
This calls back to
goosebumps. When he yells that, just goosebumps.
This calls back to the trailer episode that we recorded, because I still think the final trailer for this is the best movie trailer I've ever seen in my life.
I don't disagree.
I'm gonna say one quick thing. I hate the design of these little pods. I absolutely hate it.
This was the other things I remember sitting in the theater going, aren't they supposed to go to the Phantom Zone? Why are they being frozen? I'm so confused. Oh, because they look like penises. Oh, I didn't get that.
It's they know what they did with that.
Now I get it. I just always thought, like, again, like a very different interpretation for the Phantom Zone.
Yeah. What was I saying?
I don't know.
I don't either.
Something really important.
Oh, the thing with the trailer episode.
Yes.
I remember. I don't remember exactly how he expressed it, but Milk said something. He doesn't say kneel before Zod, but you want to because you're terrified of him. Mm-hmm. That comes to my mind every single time I watch this, because he is strong in this movie. I mean, he's amazing.
He's so commanding. So this shot of the ship going into the Phantom Zone, just I loved how unabashedly sci-fi this movie is. I think that was so great of how Zack Snyder was like, no, celebrate the big universe. But this shot, I'll never forget my buddy Dillip, who was on the Superman Returns episode. He turns to me, he goes, well, they spared no expense, did they? Because by this point, we're only like, 18 minutes into the movie. And it's just so much money on screen.
Yeah. This is utterly heartbreaking, and I love every second of it for all the right reasons.
Oh, I know.
I love that shot out the window. I love the Keylor, or whatever that thing's name is. Mm-hmm. In fact, what's her name?
Carla Gugino.
Thank you. Voice is one of those. I can't remember which one off the top of my head.
Yeah,
but the way she's saying, there is no refuge. He was right. Basically, this is the end, and she's just standing there waiting for it to take her. I mean,
I know.
And then this right here, make a better world than ours, Cal.
Oh, I know, it's great. Yeah, this scene is heartbreakingly beautiful. And as I've said on this show and others, I kind of like tragic and melancholy, and this scene fits the bill.
The destruction of Krypton here is really well done, but also saddening. I mean, it just kind of pops. I mean, I don't know what science is like in space. I don't know what would really happen in that situation, but it's like it wasn't some massive. Well, I mean, it was a massive shockwave, I guess, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Sometimes they get a little over dramatic with stuff that happens in space, I think.
Yeah. I do enjoy the redesign of Kal-El's pod. I think it's great. And I love this because I love that at this point it's on its way to Earth. And we think we know where it's going because we've seen Superman the movie, we've seen Smallville, we've seen this scene a lot of times. Mm-hmm. And I love that as soon as it's about to hit where you think, oh, okay, now we're going to go into the Kents finding him, it cuts to the present.
Now, I've seen some people levy this complaint against it, and obviously there's plenty of people out there that have things that they like to say about this film that aren't quite as positive as what I think you and I are going to be. That they think the movie would have worked better if it was told in more of a linear fashion, and I don't know that I agree with that assessment.
I don't. I love how it cuts back and forth, and I think this movie, let's be honest, very much is inspired by Batman Begins. It's very much Superman Begins. I'm not putting that out as a complaint. If you're going to steal from the best, and Christopher Nolan was involved, so you're not even stealing. You're doing it with his blessing. But I think that's part of what makes Batman Begins work so well, and what makes this work so well, and it keeps the movie going, and it keeps it interesting, and it keeps it exciting, is jumping around, is the nonlinear storytelling. I enjoy that. And then it gets mostly linear in the second half, much like Batman Begins. The first half very much jumps around between past and present. And then once essentially the more traditional superhero movie starts, then it's a lot more traditional. And that was structurally very similar to Batman Begins as well.
All right. Captain Petty's going to stick his head out a little bit here and say, remember all those people that said Superman doesn't care about saving any people in this film?
He doesn't. He's just going.
What's he doing on this oil rig, people?
He wanted to say hi and to show off his amazing body. And so there you go. Look, he's so hot that he looks like he's on fire.
En fuego.
Yeah, I know. The whole this Superman doesn't save anyone. The first time we meet him in the present, he is literally saving a bunch of strangers from an exploding oil rig. So, yeah.
He does look a little like Wolverine in this sequence, though, I will say that.
Super Wolverine. I will say that...
this is a great moment here. I love it when he catches this thing, and the drum beats that come with this and that Zimmer score. Oh. Yeah,
it's terrific. The movie is not small. And that's the other thing is, and that's something I've always loved about Snyder, is that he doesn't let things get boring. So again, we're 22 minutes into the movie, and even though he's not in the suit, he is saving a bunch of people and holding up an entire oil rig. It's amazing.
I love how he has that strain with it too. I mean, it's like he's got his powers and he's pretty well developed at this point, but he's still coming around to some of it. And I feel like that kind of shows through there.
The scene prior to this, they say Greenhorn just one too many times for me. It's just every time he says Greenhorn, I'm like, stop it. Stop calling him Greenhorn. Anyway,
great sequence here.
Yeah, this sequence is terrific. We cut back to a flashback, and again, this is more that non-linear storytelling. One thing I love about this film is about how at different points throughout the film we see what Clark in the present is going through, and then we cut back to a flashback of a moment in his past that informs the present.
Very nice casting with this kid here too. I mean, I had almost questioned whether or not this was like Cavill's son.
No, it's actually Henry Cavill. This is like Boyhood. They started making this movie in 1984.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I was unaware.
Planning ahead. They shot it concurrently with Superman 3.
I love how they portray that the powers are so overwhelming as they start to develop in him. I mean, this is so great because you go, oh, of course I'd want Superman's powers. Who wouldn't want Superman's powers? Of course we would. But this really illustrates how these gifts can also be a curse, especially when you're too young to deal with them. You know, like when you're that young, you have a hard time dealing with normal things, with big emotions, big feelings, things that are going on in your life. And so imagine being a kid trying to understand this and how it's made him different, how it's made him an outcast. He just doesn't know how to handle it. And it's beautifully illustrated how through the guidance and love of, at least, especially in this scene, Martha, and then in subsequent scenes, Jonathan and Martha, how they're the ones, it's their nurturing that allows him to become the man he's going to be. I'm a Diane Lane fan. I liked her since seeing The Outsiders as a very young child. Had a big crush on her back then, and I've always liked her as an actress and everything I've seen her in. I think she's great. She was one of the castings for this film that I was really excited for when everything started coming around for announcements. And I think she turns in it's so quick and so simple, but the performance that she gives right there talking to him through that door, fantastic.
No, I agree. I love it.
She conveys a mother's love for that boy at any age throughout this film and throughout BVS and even Justice League. I think it's really a credit to her as an actress, the way she does it.
No, I'm with you 100%.
Hey, Aquaman sent these whales. Fun fact.
Oh, don't. Don't even. I was wondering if you were going to go there, and you had to.
Yeah, somebody had to say it. Somebody out there said it already, so I'm just vocalizing what they're thinking. I know. Get a little Chris Cornell music on this here.
Is that who it is?
Yeah, I'm sad this isn't on the soundtrack.
I'm not.
You don't like this song? All right.
I mean, it's fine. I don't
know. There are pieces of the score missing. You were the one that initially pointed that out to me.
It still drives me nuts because it's one of my favorite scenes in the movie that is missing from the score.
This guy spends a lot of time at the gym.
He sure does. This was my wife's favorite scene.
I was going to say stealing the clothes, and I'm like, oh, shirtless Superman.
No. Yeah,
understandable.
I think when we got out, Samantha and some other friends of ours, Pam and Paula, they were all like, "Ooh, that Henry Cavill." I'm like,
He is a good-looking dude. I'm as comfortable in my heterosexuality as any person you've ever met in your life. But I'm telling you, that's a good-looking dude there.
No doubt. Again, he sees that school bus. We cut back to another incident in his past. Again, amazing casting with this kid. I can't remember his name. I don't have the IMDb open. Oh God, I can't remember. It doesn't matter. But he looks.
You talking about Pete?
No.
Or are you talking about the little
Clark? Yeah, little Clark.
Okay.
And
all right, if I want to get nitpicky,
much like Greenhorn,
all these kids and this bus driver are dead the instant this bus hits the water too. But I don't want to get nitpicky because I'm watching a superhero movie.
Oh, see, I wasn't gonna even. I never even thought about that. I was just gonna say the term "dick splash" is pretty damn stupid. What does that?
You never said stupid stuff like that.
What does that? What does that even mean? But again, Clark, not caring about saving anyone, he's gonna. I guess he's just going to leave them there. See, he's looking back. He's like,
I hate you all. I'm out. Peace.
Peace, suckers.
Interesting choice that they cast Lana to look a little bit like, was it Kristen Crook? Is that her name from Smallville? Mm-hmm. Not identical twins or anything, but she definitely bears similarities to.
Yeah, kind of, sort of. There are a couple very subtle nods to Smallville here that if you're a huge Smallville fan, in your headcanon, you can connect them.
The Sullivan Mechanic Shop.
Yeah. And they mentioned the Fordham boy.
That one I don't get. That one's a little past me.
I think that was Whitney Fordham was Lana's boyfriend at the beginning of the show.
Oh, okay.
But Pete kind of throws the whole thing off. You can't get more opposite Pete's than Smallville versus this one.
That's very true.
Clark
takes an inventory and immediately notices Pete's not there. Goes back to save the guy that just called him Dick Splash. Now that's nobility at its finest.
Call them Dick. Someone calls me Dick Splash, I'll leave him splashing in that creek till he goes.
I was going to say, I'll go down there and put my foot on his throat and make sure. But that ain't him, and he ain't me, so.
And the repercussions that come after. I love just this conversation of just the implications of what Clark can do. Immediately starts the conversation of, it was an act of God. It was a miracle. And just to already start seeding how people would react if they knew what Clark was capable of. It's a very small way of showing how the world would overreact.
And these are people that are appreciative of what he did. So people that weren't even involved, their curiosity is going to be coming from a different direction. So this is one of those scenes in the film. Now, first of all, the shaky cam here, it's driven me nuts since the first time I saw it. And I hate being critical of this film because I love everything about it, but I don't care for the way this scene is shot.
I agree.
I don't like his response here. And it's not because I don't get what he's saying as a father, having this conversation with his kid. It's because I think this scene is grossly mistranslated by entirely too many people.
Mm-hmm. No, this is a perfect example of a scene, and this is one of those criticisms of the film that I have kind of I've come around to in the 5 years that it's been out. Is this scene, the intent is rock solid, and most of the conversation is really strong, but it needed a rewrite because it's just not quite there yet. And so, as you say, it's become this big sticking point for fans where he goes, oh, he told his son that he should let a whole bunch of people die. And that's not what he's saying, but it needed a rewrite for him not to say maybe, because what follows after the maybe is actually really good, where he says, there are bigger things at stake here than my life or your life or the life of people around us. This is a bigger deal than that. And that's all totally valid. He just shouldn't have said maybe. He should have said, of course not, but you've got to be more careful. That's what he should have said.
I agree 100%.
End of argument. But he didn't. David Goyer needed a little tweaking here, and now,
as he often does,
5 years we're still paying for it, because the rest of this sequence is terrific. There are these conversations between Jonathan and Clark that a lot of fans choose to ignore because they contradict their point that Jonathan's terrible in this movie.
I fully do not agree with that. I absolutely love his Jonathan. I'm not a huge Costner fan. I mean, I like the guy well enough and everything, but I wouldn't be what I'd call a Kevin Costner fan. For my money, this is his best performance that I've ever seen. Best performance in a film I've ever seen.
No, I'm not talking about his performance. His performance is amazing. He's great. But the message, I'm talking about the character, the way the character was written. A lot of the fans really hate it because of that. And there's my cat. We're going to ignore him. And there's some, like, this whole thing of, I believe you were sent here for a reason, and we need to figure out what that reason was. Like, this is all really great. All the changes you're going through one day you're going to think of them as a blessing. Like, he's not saying, hide, don't help people. He's saying, you need to let this play out, and you need to wait till the time is right until you're ready. That's what he's saying. And that's great. That is what Jonathan Kent would say. But again, because there are those little moments of, should I have let them die? Maybe. All of this gets ignored.
You are my son. One of my favorite lines in the entire film. Because whether it's his birth son or not, I mean, you feel a love for that child as a parent, and it's amazing.
And he sent you here for a reason, Clark.
Right.
And even if it takes the rest of your life, you owe it to yourself to find out what that reason is. He is not telling him to hide for life. He's saying, be careful right now, because we need to figure out what you're here for.
I love every beat of the sequence from the time this fool gets out of the truck until the time he walks out of that bar. Every single thing about it. Love it.
Yeah, and then we're back. Clark the busboy.
Overhearing what they're talking about with what they found up in the north there.
Mm-hmm.
Took me forever to catch the Canadian flag on those uniforms.
I never noticed. I never thought about it. So I've actually seen fans take this guy's side.
What?
I've seen fans who hate this movie so much that they take the sexual harasser's side over Clark's.
He is.
Stay off of Twitter. That's all I'm telling you.
Just I'm ignoring that you even said that to me because that's ridiculous.
It is asinine, but it's a thing.
He is just delivering everything he can, trying to get him to lose his cool. Love this look right here, right there. Love that. Just love that. That's my favorite scene in the entire thing, right there.
And I love, when he goes to push him and he can't, he doesn't budge an inch. It's fantastic.
He's got that restraint. You could see it building up inside of him, but he's got that restraint. I mean, Cavill does such a great job in this entire bit right here. Even there, he's like, I could break this guy in half. I know I could do it, but I'm just going to be cool and walk outside.
Yep.
And he does the so much without words. How he could do that to the truck and nobody notices. It's like, just get over yourselves.
You're in the middle of nowhere. Everybody's inside drinking.
It's still funny.
And this is one of the few laughs in the movie was this. That is one of the criticisms that I do kind of agree with. Is they could have used a couple lighter moments. It's a pretty
I think it's got a few in there. It's just it's more of a subtle type of a humor or moment of levity.
Zack Snyder has a lot of skills. Humor in his movies is not one of them. I've always said that his funniest movie is Dawn of the Dead. And Dawn of the Dead is a movie where everyone dies.
It's true.
It's just not his style.
It's just a matter of, humor is such a subjective thing anyway. Everything is with the movies anymore. This is all your fault, Ray, if you're listening. But the humor to me is the most subjective thing because, how many years have I gone by saying how unfunny I think things are that everybody else thinks are the most hilarious thing in the world, like, Animal House and all that stuff. It's like, I don't get it. Like
we know this is the perfect movie for you because there are no jokes.
No, there's plenty of jokes. They're just
plenty.
Jokes.
There's like 3, maybe.
There's like 3 just in this sequence alone,
and that was one of them. Come on, let's be real.
The dick measuring thing's kind of a joke. The pee in the bucket in the corner thing's kind of a joke. It's just a matter of how you want to translate what you think is funny and not. I watch a Friday the 13th movie and somebody gets their head blown off and I think that's hysterical. So what do I know?
Well, anyway, we meet Lois Lane, Amy Adams, our Lois.
She's a great
fantastic
actress anyway. But great Lois.
I do love that she immediately, puts these guys in her place and shows why she is Lois Lane, Pulitzer Prize winning journalist.
Those two and Harry Lennox, I think all 3 are unsung characters in this film that deserve just a little bit more recognition. I think they all 3 turned in tremendous performances.
Yeah. Is it Colonel Hardy? Is that his name? Chris Maloney?
Maybe. I'm not sure. I know him as Guardian. But
I love him. He's so good in this. And then the guy who was just looking at the monitor, he played Emil Hamilton in Smallville.
Did he really?
Yeah. So another little... I wonder if Zack liked Smallville, because there's another guy who shows up later who was also from Smallville. I'll never forget when he says, it gets 40 below out here. And the first thing she does is go out in the middle of the night. So I'm hoping he was lying, because 40 below, I don't care how heavy your coat is, but that's something that's always just stuck out to me.
It just goes to show you how dedicated she is to her job.
Yeah, it's going to freeze to death in 3 seconds. But maybe he was exaggerating just to dissuade her from...
He's out there in a sweater. So, yeah, he's a tough guy.
Well, yeah. Clark don't need no clothes.
I'm sure many would prefer he wasn't wearing any throughout the whole film. But
yeah. But yeah, I do love, I love this Lois Lane. This was a big deal for me because I was so let down by Lois Lane in Superman Returns. She's strong without being annoying, She's tough and she's smart and she's what Lois Lane should be without overdoing it. She's still incredibly likable while being all those things.
And compassionate. I mean, she's a great character. She's very well done and developed in this film.
Well, we'll get to that a little bit later on in the movie, but yes, like even though she is hard-hitting reporter and the story is important, she also has a code that she is willing to follow that will supersede the story. And I love that about this version. Because that's not true for all Lois Lanes.
I get a quick call out. I love the idea that the heat vision drains his energy or gives him a headache. Just he has that negative reaction to using the heat vision. Because to me, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. That doing something that exerts that kind of energy from your body would cause you discomfort instead of just being something that you could just flip on and off just like that. Mm-hmm. Something simple but logical. This droid's a bastard back here, by the way.
Yeah, he is. These little bastard droids. But again, like, totally leaning into the sci-fi aspects of the Superman story. I thought it was a really interesting choice to make this old scout ship essentially the Fortress of Solitude. Mm-hmm. I think, again, it was an interesting take to maintain these very mythic parts of the Superman story, but also giving them their own spin.
Agreed. And somehow, I mean, I don't want to criticize because I do love how the Fortress of Solitude looks in the original films. It just makes more logical sense to me that a spaceship would be his fortress instead of something that a crystal just built out of nothing.
No, exactly. It does make sense. But it always bothers me that this ship kind of ceases to exist by the end of this movie. And so I'm always like, well, then what does he use for Fortress of Solitude? He lost his home. I don't know. Maybe then he builds the crystal one. But for this movie, it works.
This movie does move at a breakneck pace. I mean, it's 2 hours and 20 minutes. And boy, there's... in fact, I think I've heard you maybe levy this complaint against this and or BVS at some point, that you just need a chance to breathe at some point and you don't really get one.
No, I don't have that issue with this movie at all. And not even with BVS. I've said that about other movies. Okay. I think that was one of the big issues for me with Justice League, is it was cut so damn tight that there was no moments to breathe.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah. But no, this one I think is paced beautifully, and I think because of the way it's structured, because of that nonlinear storytelling, they're allowed to cover so much ground in 2 hours and 20 minutes. So, and I've always loved that about this, much like Batman Begins. Like, you're able to cover so much of who Clark is and what's happened to him in the past, what's happening to him now, what's going to happen to him in the future. So much storytelling in a relatively short amount of time.
I love how he calms her down, just giving her the look. Mm-hmm. These two have great chemistry together. I don't give a damn what anybody says.
Has someone said they don't?
Oh, I'm sure there has been somewhere.
So yeah, this is.
I mean, didn't we once hear somebody levy the complaint against Cavill that they thought he had all the personality of an underwear model in this movie?
That's insanity. I mean, he is so good in this. Like, when they announced his casting, I went, who? And man, he won me over quick. He's so good in this, and especially because he doesn't get a lot of dialogue at the beginning. That all changes as soon as he meets Jor-El's ghost, but he just has so much presence. And then by the end of the movie, he is so commanding as Superman that I'm like, oh my God, that's him, that's Superman. So you really see him grow into the role, and yeah, I was a believer. As soon as this movie, once we got a couple scenes of him in this movie, I'm like, no, this guy's it. He's Superman. And we didn't mention Richard Schiff as this Emil Hamilton, but I love that, including that character from the comics.
Yeah, he like I said, Maloney and him and Lennox all really. You just don't hear people talk about him very much, and I think they all contributed extremely well to this movie. Mm-hmm. And so Lois has been saved,
by Clark, which begins what will soon be a lifelong obsession with the Man of Steel.
Man, that's my worst nightmare, being stuck in a climate like that. Piss on that weather.
Yeah. Well, thank God you live there.
Sometimes it does feel that way.
And I love this scene. She's so Lois Lane. Like, I love that outfit. I love that look. I love her reading the story to Perry. Lawrence Fishburne.
That's Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah, Ra's al Ghul, who is posing as Perry White. He's also just so great. Like, what inspired casting for him as Perry?
He's great in everything. Do you watch Blackish?
No.
Okay. Well, if you do, he plays Anthony Anderson's dad on the show, and he's magnificent in that. But he's magnificent in everything.
Yeah, he's awesome.
He's a great actor.
He'll never top Cowboy Curtis, but you can't. When you start out on top, there's nowhere to go but down.
He was in a movie in the early 90s with Jeff Goldblum called Deep Cover.
Oh, I remember that one.
I love that movie, and nobody ever talks about it. Ever. But it's one of Fishburne's best performances, in my personal opinion.
Oh, all right.
And Goldblum is off. I mean, you talk about playing an unchained, crazy person in a movie. Whew.
So we've got Woodburn, who shows back up in BVS, which I love that continuity. That this relatively small role in Man of Steel, he got another paycheck to show up in Batman vs. Superman.
And ladies and gentlemen, the John Peters scene.
Yep. You get your polar bear. I hope you're happy. Just off screen is Victor Freeze, because that's his pet.
Nice.
And then this scene, is terrific. So I feel like this is really, the movie shifts into a different gear here with Kal-El finally meeting Jor-El. And both of them are just so great in this scene.
Yes, they are. Like I said, I don't care what anybody says about Russell Crowe. That dude is such a good actor.
Oh, he's awesome. He has the perfect amount of gravitas for Jor-El. And that was a casting that I went, oh, that's great.
Yeah, I think him and Lane were the first two that I heard. Or him and, Diane Lane.
I distinctly, though, remember there were set photos of him standing outside a soundstage smoking in his Jor-El armor. So that's why not all of the armor was CG.
I see.
I remember that. It looked much better in the movie than it did in a set photo of him smoking outside.
You don't say.
Yeah, shocking.
This is why I don't lose my mind over Shazam set photos and Titans TV series set photos and all that other stuff, This is great use of special effects with this Kryptonian tech here. This is one of my favorite sequences in the movie.
Yeah. I mean, this is major exposition dump, but so important and so well executed. From Russell Crowe's performance to then the visuals using that Kryptonian tech to show it. It's really great because you get so much good information in here about the history of Krypton, the mistakes they made, how their society was run, how they used to go out and explore, how they would terraform. All of this is important. It all comes back later, but it's done really efficiently here.
Some nice headgear going on back here.
Yeah. The Kryptonian headgear.
This shot coming up of Zod is like a Eastern European dictator thing, and I think it's just brilliant the way that they produce it up on the screen there. The way it has that fluid motion going on in the background at all times. I love that Kryptonian tech stuff right there. That shot right there.
Mm-hmm, totally. It's like a propaganda shot with the marching troops behind them. Then you get the pod.
That pod looking much like the one from the original Reeve films.
Right.
There's so many nods to previous iterations of the character, and you got to love it when they do it subtly enough that it doesn't feel like they're swiping things so much as they are showing just how much they love it. Be it Smallville or the comics or the Reeve films or any of that stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Love that. What if a child dreamed of becoming something more other than what society dictated? It's just so good.
And that's some of the best dialogue is Jor-El's speeches. It's terrific. And it doesn't hurt to have Russell Crowe delivering it. Why didn't you come with me? Why didn't you send me Haraka?
I find it interesting how much you like Haraka and how much you dislike Goliath, but that's a story for another day.
Because Haraka's from Krypton. Where the hell's Goliath from?
I don't know.
Exactly. It doesn't make any sense.
Don't care. I love him.
It's so weird. Give me some sort of internal logic, please. This was like a scout ship. From the exposition we just got, it's implied that these suits are kind of like emissary suits, like they meet other civilizations. But we talked a little bit about it, I think, with Justice League about like, does the ship actually create the suit? I never thought about it. I just thought that there were already these ambassador suits on board.
Well, I think it must, because I mean, unless they specifically state somewhere that I missed, and I know I didn't because this is the second time today I've watched it. There is no specific member of the House of L on board this ship, but that's still the House of L symbol on that chest.
Well, but when he was talking about them going out, they all had the House of L on them.
Oh, did they?
Yeah. And then we get our reveal of the Man of Steel, and I started cheering loudly in the theater when this happened. It's a wonderful reveal. You want that first moment of Superman in costume to really be a moment, and Zack did not let us down.
I got a friend of mine. He's, I don't know, probably 9 or 10 years older than me. Little Puerto Rican guy. He's hilarious. I love him to death. He loves Superman the way you and I love Batman. And we saw this in the theater that opening night, and I think it was a midnight showing back then. This wasn't what they were cool and let us do it at 6 or 7 at night. You know, it was midnight. And that scene happened when the door opened and he started walking out in the suit, and Abel sat so far up in his seat and you could just see the excitement coming in. I mean, he's, 5 years ago, he was almost 50 at the time, and he was geeking like crazy. It was funny. And I'll always remember that.
Yeah, I was excited for this movie in a way that I reserve for Batman movies. But it was so long since I had a great Superman movie, and I had been waiting so long for a great Superman movie that I was as excited as could be for this one.
I actually, coming into this whole sequence is great. When it gets to the point where he actually starts flying, I've had this discussion with you and other people before. It's what I hear. I guess everybody doesn't hear it, but I hear it. When he actually starts flying and they show the close-up of his face as he's flying with the smile and whatnot, the sound effect that's kind of used as a background to that is the sound effect from the old George Reeves Superman TV show. It's like that whistling wind kind of a sound. Or maybe that's what I want to hear. Because some people say they've heard it, some people say they don't hear it. So
I've never heard it, but this is, I mean, again, much like Zack knows how to make a moment sing, and he made Superman's entrance a moment, and this first flight, he makes this a moment. So I love when he takes the time to go quiet here, to pause, and really just make this as dramatic and as magical as it should be. Because when he takes off and that Zimmer music swells, it's a Superman moment for the ages.
Right there is one of those moments I'm talking about where you can hear that sound effect. Anytime they show that close-up of his face, you can hear it.
And this is one of the best tracks on the score. I can hear it even though that I'm watching it with the sound off.
That's why I'm quiet. I'm playing it in my head right now.
It is pure magical. And when certain fans go, this movie is, what do they say, joyless? And I'm like, well, then you didn't watch this sequence. You were out pooping, because this sequence is pure joy.
I love the effects of him flying too. The sound effects, the visual effects, the whole bit of it, especially when he comes over to water or when he breaks the sound barrier, just all that stuff to me is really cool.
Oh yeah, it's great.
I remember being kind of underwhelmed by the first two trailers. I had always been excited for this because I love Superman. I genuinely do. He's not Batman level for me, but he's not that far behind it. The first two trailers, I thought, I'm excited to see this. They look good, but I think it was that first teaser where it shows the shot of him flying straight up. I thought, God, did they steal that from the Iron Man movie? But I'd always look forward to it, but I was just like, okay. And then that last trailer hit, and that's what ultimately got me to be hooked on this movie as far as the excitement's concerned. Because in case I hadn't mentioned it, that's still my favorite movie trailer ever.
I know. I agree with you. And I totally agree that the teaser really let me down just because I was so excited for this movie. And when the teaser was like the Terrence Malick slow-mo swing and butterfly, and I was like, oh, what is this? And then the second trailer was, it was better, but still like you could tell they were holding so much back. But I was still like, listen, I've been waiting for an awesome Superman movie. I love Zack Snyder. I'm still all in. And then that third trailer finally gave me what I was waiting for. So yeah, I agree with you. The first two trailers to me also were a little underwhelming. Well, the first one I thought was very underwhelming. The second one was also underwhelming. So Jonathan Kent died in 1997. Fun fact, it's because he just left the theater from Batman and Robin and just drove straight into a tornado.
I hate you
and
for that.
Who can blame him? Who can blame him?
Exactly.
So yeah, we've got that was always the moment after flight. It was the bathroom break for me in the theater. I think I saw this 5 times in the theater because her just questioning strangers about Clark. That was the perfect time to go hit the restroom, and you're back just in time for this conversation. Note to self, in case you go see it back on the big screen and you need to know the perfect restroom break, that was it.
Am I crazy, or does grown Pete not get any lines of dialogue in any film that he's in?
You're crazy.
Okay.
But you're also correct.
Okay.
I think he says something at the end of BVS. But in this one, yeah, grown Pete doesn't get to speak. And I'm like, they do not want to give this guy his SAG card. He's just an extra. And now we cut back to this sequence. So we've got young Clark again. Really, really great performances by all here. Between, I guess he'd be a teenager,
late
petulant
teens,
teenager, or a young adult, maybe college by now, trying to break out from his father's shadow and everything.
Well, let's assume we're going by the timeline of when the film was released, which was 2013. So he was 33 in current times in the film. So that means he was born in 1980. So 1997, he would be 17, right?
Right. Well, look at you, Mr. Math. So, and then here we go. As you know, I love the movie Twister, and so the fact that we had a Twister scene in my Superman movie, I was very happy. In fact, I was watching it this morning with my morning coffee, and Sam goes, "Are you watching Twister?" I'm like, "No, Man of Steel, but close enough." If Helen Hunt was here, everybody would have survived, but...
This is a great character moment for Jonathan Kent. Whether anybody wants to agree with me ever or not, that's fine. But to me, this is the moment where he shows Clark what it means to be a hero.
Yes, but I'm
not saying that the sequence is perfect. I'm saying
I don't disagree with you.
The pieces are there.
This is a sequence, and this is one that I tried so hard to defend tooth and nail back in 2013, and I've really come around to, much like that other conversation. Here, the premise is sound, the idea is great, the execution is lacking. The problem is they don't put Jonathan Kent into a no-win scenario. There are 10 different ways Clark could have saved him, and that's the problem with this sequence. Is the idea is great of like, no, Clark had to watch his father die because he trusted his father and knew that it wasn't safe. That's great. But the fact that they couldn't put Jonathan Kent into truly a scenario where there was no choice is, I think, one of the issues with this scene and with the movie. This just needed a rewrite because Clark could have gone for the dog while Jonathan took Martha to the overpass. Clark has plenty of time here. He doesn't even have to use his super speed to go get Jonathan and drag him back and go, we got lucky. There were ways out of this, and unfortunately, they just didn't quite find a way to make it totally gel.
Well, we don't have an establishment that he even knows that he has super speed at this point. We can assume.
Well, that's why I said he didn't even have to use his super speed. There was enough time that he didn't even need to use it.
And I get why Jonathan sent Martha with him, because he felt like Martha would be safer with him than with with himself. You know, was safer with Clark than she would be with him.
I don't think that's true. I think that's you trying to. I think that's finding. That's trying to find rationale for a poorly written moment. Because he was holding a child. Like, there was no reason he couldn't have just kept going with that child who was also safe with Martha. So I love the performance by Costner and by Cavill in that scene. When Cavill lets out that scream of watching his father die, I think it's a great moment, and the emotions worked. And even when I saw that scene in 2013, that emotional beat worked, which is why I kind of forgave it. But now 5 years later of debating, I kind of have to concede that scene could have been set up better.
I won't contest that it could be set up better, but I think it works just fine in context the way it is for me. Maybe I'm being too forgiving of it. Maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, I like I love the idea. I just, I wish that would have gone back to rewrite.
It's not like they didn't have time. Wasn't this essentially a finished product on the shelf in 2012?
I think so.
I think I remember reading that.
Yeah, I think so. So, this scene I think is great. Speaking to what we mentioned earlier about how Lois Lane, like, there are lines that she won't cross for a story. That's such a great piece of her character that hasn't really been explored in other media that I can think of. I mean, maybe it has. But I love that it's a very important point here, is that the story doesn't always come first. People still come first. And that gives her so much more heart. I love that.
How she lights up when Clark pulls up there. I love that.
So
She's
there's
such
a voice.
A good actress.
So that voice where it says "Go get him," that did not. I always thought that sounded like young Clark and not Martha. It's the weirdest little audio clip. Have you ever noticed that?
Not really.
Oh, it's just a weird thing. But Clark gets out of a LexCorp truck.
Yeah.
So
I did not catch that the first time, but I caught it. You know, you get into the discussions about the films after you see them, and you start pointing out all the Easter eggs and everything else. The LexCorp truck, I thought everybody was talking about. It's the one at the end when it's like a gas
that one
tanker.
I saw. Yeah, that one I saw. This one had to be pointed out to me. That was the other thing, is there were a lot of those Easter eggs in this movie, but Zack Snyder did not call attention to them, so they are very easy to miss.
But remember, he doesn't have any subtlety in how he does anything.
Well, of course not. I love the conflicted emotions here of Martha, of being like, I'm happy for you. You found your other family, but you can't help but think, what does that mean for me? It's just a very real human reaction. I love that.
These two, I mean, not obviously in the romantic sense, but the chemistry these two have on a screen is fantastic as well.
Yeah. This is so interesting how they aged up Diane Lane for this. She's so good in it, but like she's still beautiful. They can't help it, but it's just interesting how they really try to make her look old. Far better old age makeup than The Watchmen. So I'll give them that.
Might have had a little higher budget for this. I'm not sure.
We'll get to that someday. But this conversation is like we both knew that the whole world would know how special you are. It was her and Jonathan. There are plenty of moments in here where Jonathan does express that he believes that Clark is going to change the world in who he is. And it's such a shame that all those moments they get glossed over by the detractors of this movie.
And the appreciation I've always had for that, going way back to the first couple times I saw the film, is the fact that the Earth parents gave him the free will to choose who he wanted to be instead of directly influencing how he had to be some kind of a hero or something along those lines. I mean, it's almost strange, but to me it feels like a more valid statement of Clark as a character, that he chose to be that way instead of was molded to be that way. Mm-hmm. Even if he was influenced just the same, it's just him inside choosing to be that hero, that Superman, to me is a strengthening point of that character.
Well, yeah, and you go back to that conversation between Lois and Clark in the cemetery. It's one of my favorite lines in the film is when Lois says, "The only way for you to disappear is to stop helping people, and I don't think that's an option for you."
Right.
I love that.
Just we know he doesn't save anybody though. All right, I'm going to cut that petty crap out.
I try to not, but sometimes you can't help it. I get it. 5 years of debating this film will do it to you. Will leave a lasting mark. So there are certain moments, even I'm watching it this morning, just trying to enjoy it, and I'm like, hey, haters, did you forget about this part? And the answer is yes. Yes, they did. And now, we get the arrival of Zod's ship.
Everybody's reaction to this and the way it's set up with them taking over communications globally is just really cool. I think it's really well done.
Yeah. Well, and, to go into the bigger premise behind this Superman film, the premise that really got David Goyer and Christopher Nolan excited about Man of Steel is it's a first contact story. It's, hey, how would the Earth react if we found out that there was life on other planets and they're living here? How would the world really react to that? Because you go back to Superman the movie, Superman's having a conversation with Lois Lane, and he goes, oh yeah, I come from a different planet. It's called Krypton. And she goes, oh great, do you eat? Like, no reaction. Nothing. Like, oh, you're an alien? That's fine. Do you like pink? The fact that, like, this whole movie is like, no, like, there are huge, far-reaching consequences of learning that we are not alone in the universe. And that has to do with Clark's journey and what does that mean for Superman? And it now shows the entire world reacting to the arrival of Zod. And I do think it's a great touch to show all over the world, to show that this message, this communique, is not just going to America, it's going to the entire planet. And to go back to some of the choices that Zack Snyder made in shooting the movie, which we both agree, like, not my favorite. I don't love that it's all handheld. Some of the saturation I'm not a huge fan of either. I know why he made that choice, because the whole point of this is, hey, how would our world react to the arrival of Superman? And so he shot it in a way that it looks and feels very much like our world, to make it as realistic as possible. So I understood the creative choice. Just aesthetically, it's not my favorite choice.
Understandable.
But I will say, I think it is exaggerated because when I was going to rewatch this, I was kind of ready for that, because that's, check the tape 5 years ago. That was an issue I had with the movie when it first came out, and rewatching it, I'm like, it's not as bad as I remembered.
It's noticeable in some points, but it's really not like it's not a 2 hour and 20 minute problem.
Exactly. It rarely distracts from the movie. Let's put it that way. And the fact that, like, that YouTube video got away with desaturating it and going, look at how uncolorful this movie, and people went, yeah, I know. It just shows that a lot of people remembered it incorrectly.
People want to be mad about things, man. What are you going to do?
I'll do what you do and just log off. Read a book.
Your blood pressure will go down, I can tell you that much.
Good. We got that little wiener Woodburn back.
Homeboy just threw her right under the bus. Lois Lane knows who he is.
Oh, you dick. I stand by what I said about your website. It's Drek. Ain't It Cool News is garbage. But I love this again, like just setting the stakes. It's not like the city's being threatened. The planet, and she won't give up Clark. So much integrity. It's great.
Well, I mean, at this point, she has a grasp of who he is and what he's doing, too.
Mm-hmm.
They don't. All they know is alien threat looming in the sky just gave us an ultimatum to turn this guy over in 24 hours, versus she knows this guy's basically spent his entire adult life helping people in secret.
Yeah. And they don't know that he has these dreamy eyes that you could just get lost in.
Or pecks for days.
Yes. Once they see him, they'll get it. What if Kal-El grew up to look like John Goodman?
That would certainly be unique.
What then?
I do love the exchange with the priest and him here as well.
Yeah, this is a nice scene.
No subtleness about it whatsoever, but I still love it very much.
Yeah. This some of the Superman Jesus analogies get a little heavy-handed, and that
they do. But I personally, being a Christian, I don't have an issue with it, but it's whatever.
Yeah, this some of the Superman Jesus analogies get a little heavy-handed, and that
They do, but I personally, being a Christian, I don't have an issue with it, but it's whatever.
This is one of them.
It's whatever. 'Cause This is a good sequence here too, because they convey what he's feeling just in the fact that when he gets up, when Pete helps him up off the ground and he's crushed that pole.
Mm-hmm. I love this scene.
That look he's given. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great scene to show him having to make these decisions. And then what follows, again, there's the Sullivans. This is another one of my favorite conversations between Jonathan and Clark, because this is the scene where Jonathan says, whatever decisions you make now are going to shape you to who you're going to be. And I don't know who that is, but you're going to change the world.
And this is an extremely parallel sequence to the one with the guy in the truck in Canada. In the bar that dumped the beer on.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So yeah, this is great performances by both of them, and and this just is the wisdom of Jonathan Kent in this scene. I even admits, part of me wanted you to hit him, but then what? You just have to decide what kind of man you want to grow up to be, Clark, because whoever that man is, good character or bad, he's going to change the world.
And that's that free will choice of who you want to be. I mean, that's, again, he's offering guidance and wisdom and what have you, but he's still leaving the decision up to him on who he wants to be. I appreciate that from his character in this.
Do you know what scene that is? That's with great power comes great responsibility.
It kind of is.
Yeah, kind of that. Like this is the time of your life when you decide who you're going to grow up to be. So these choices matter. I love that.
I love his reaction there where he has that gulp.
Yeah, that's the second laugh that happened in the theater. The first was the truck. This was the second. But yeah, that shot of Jesus over his shoulder it's a lot. It's a lot. You didn't need it.
Yeah, if not very many people see the parallels to it without, the arrows pointing for them. So.
But I do love the conversation. I agree with that. And I do love that the priest doesn't give him the answer, but just gives him some guidance and gives him food for thought. I think that's great. And that priest was in the funeral at BVS.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, it was awesome. So this is when the movie completely shifts gears. This is essentially the the docks sequence in Batman Begins, where the whole movie shifts. That's this, Superman reveals himself to the world, and the movie is now a Superman movie. Him just hovering there in the theater, I think I clutched my pearls. I was like, ooh.
Clutch my pearls.
It's so terrific. Just, oh man.
The handcuffs become another one of my favorite things in this movie in a minute, because when he gets up and just pulls his, let's lay all our cards on the table, and there is absolutely no effort or strain whatsoever as he pulls his hands apart with that. And I think that was just brilliantly done.
Yeah.
Brilliantly done.
Yeah, and this is a great exchange between the two of them. I love it. This is where you really see their chemistry. It's flirty, but not overtly so.
This is one of those sequences where you can kind of see that filter over everything, but
yes. This is one where it's a little washed out,
I don't have an issue with it, but I definitely noticed it as I was watching it this morning.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is where it's a little washed out. Those fluorescent lights are a little harsh, and so it's not, it's not as vibrant as it could be.
I love how he's reading the ID tag and seeing the wintergreen lifesavers in his pocket. That's wonderful.
I love it. He just calls it all out. Yeah, I know what you guys are up to. I'm Superman, y'all. Is another line that bothers me. Why would you say 33 years? Just say I've been here my entire life. That's all you have to say. Don't say 33 years. You're just giving them clues to find you.
That's another one of those Jesus moments, in case you were wondering.
I know it is, but you don't need it.
Just the way they separate. Like, literally, it's just like his arms are dropping to their side and there was no resistance.
And this is where, he starts really being commanding, where he's like, listen, I'm not your enemy, but you also don't get to control me.
Yeah. He's exuding so much power in this moment, but it's in a restrained fashion. Like the handcuffs exude tremendous power, but restrained. The way he's speaking to them exudes power, but restrained.
Mm-hmm. And I also love this moment between the two of them. Him thanking her, and she saying, it didn't make a difference, but he said it did to me. I love that. Like I also heard some complaints that people felt that their relationship wasn't quite earned, but I think it's moments like this where I have to disagree. I think that he saves her, she seeks him out, she understands who he is and where he comes from, she stands up for him, she's on his side through the whole thing. Like, that means a lot.
Okay, I'm just going to say it out loud so everybody can hear me, and I'm only going to say it once, and I'm not coming back to it. How many of us fell in love with Wonder Woman in 2.5 hours? These two have spent more than 2.5 hours together at this point. I don't know if that makes a bit of sense to anybody but me, but
I get what you're saying, but I also don't think they're in love by the end of the movie, but there is a connection, and it's moments like that where I buy that connection.
I never had any issue with the connection at all.
Well, neither did I. I'm just kind of throwing it out there because it was something that I had heard, and when I'm watching that scene and I'm like, oh God, like, it's so good. That's where I go.
But you know what? If this would have been a 2-hour and 20-minute movie and 45 minutes of it would have been those two dating and being all gushy with each other, people would have complained about that because they've been like, oh, we've seen it done. It's stale.
I don't need the Clark and Lois rom-com. There was an entire series for that back in the 90s.
Yep. I love Feora. So I'd watch a Feora solo movie tomorrow.
I am with you. I think she is terrific. It's tough. Much like it was tough for Zimmer to follow John Williams, it is tough to follow Sarah Douglas's Ursa, but Feora steps up big time. She's so good. She's one of my favorite parts of the movie.
Because she's as vicious as Zod is.
Oh, yeah. She is relentless.
Okay, now it's time for Dumb Me to show up for just a quick minute because I'm not entirely sure I'm clear on this. Why did Zod want Lois? Bargaining chip?
It's a great question, and I don't think they make it super clear. My assumption, and I do have to make the assumption for the movie, is that it is public knowledge, thanks to Woodburn, that Lois knows things about Clark that no one else does. And after this whole sequence on the ship, she says they looked in my mind to find out as much as they could about you. So that is my guess, is he knows this woman also knows about Kal-El. And so we're not just going to interrogate him, we're going to interrogate her.
Gotcha. Just always something I was never tremendously clear on,
They don't make it super clear, and yeah, that one you can make the nick against the movie for. Because it feels awfully convenient. Oh, we're going to bring Lois too.
Just like the foresight of him giving her that little key there.
Yeah, thank God there was someone there to give it to. I love the setup of these, safety helmets.
The atmospheric things.
Atmospheric collars, whatever. Again, the Kryptonian tech in this, so unique, so different, so distinctive, but it works.
I'm still kind of heartbroken that Lex didn't show up with a Kryptonian suit painted green and purple in BVS. Yeah, I'm never going to get over that.
I'm with you.
Because I called it way back in this that I thought that these suits look like Lex's power suit.
Yeah. I know. I agree. I remember someone took the screen grab from the trailer and painted it and went, this suit looks very familiar. But yeah, I never went that way. Feora, I love you.
Hey, there's always a Legion of Doom movie one of these days, right?
Yeah. I still like to believe that somewhere in the Phantom Zone that she and Hardy finally resolved their differences and admitted that they loved each other, and so they're happily living together forever in the Phantom Zone.
What's Emil doing? Just chilling in the background, or what?
Yeah, poor Emil. He's the third wheel. So this was an interesting take, but I think a really good idea of how do you depower Superman? We're not going to go use the kryptonite card. Well, he's been on Earth his entire life, and so he would not be adapted to a Kryptonian atmosphere. So I thought that was really clever.
I agree.
And then we get to another wild and crazy Zack Snyder dream sequence. He likes these.
Yes, he does.
But this is a lot less, it's not so much of a dream. It's more of like a mind meld type thing. Because this conversation actually happens. It's not him imagining it.
I'm an idiot.
What?
The first time, the dozens of times I've seen this movie over the last 5 years, this is the first time I've ever looked and realized he was wearing a Kansas City Royals shirt.
Oh, well, I didn't notice that either. But I wouldn't know.
I'm not a baseball guy, but I can't believe I never caught that before now.
So I also think it's really smart writing in that a lot of movies have these big coincidences, and in a lesser movie, they would have just shown up and you'd be like, oh, so now Zod shows up as soon as Superman figures out who he is. But the fact that it was Superman putting that command key into the ship that calls Zod, I think is just a great little detail to add some logic to why this is when Zod would show up. I think that's so good. Really starting to, again, set up that they have a world engine.
Right.
And there's Lex in his suit. Lex just looks a lot like Zod.
Was that Richard? I didn't quite catch.
I think it was. It went pretty quick, but I think it was him. For those who are wondering who the heck we're talking about, please go back into our archives and look for
there he is.
And look for our interview with Richard Citrone, who was Batman's stunt double for Batman versus Superman.
Who has worked with Zack Snyder numerous times.
Yes, I think he's worked with Zack on like every movie.
Dating back to at least 300.
But most importantly, he was Big Daddy Mars in John Carpenter's Ghosts of Mars.
Was he really?
Yeah.
How did I not know that?
Because you didn't listen to our episode?
No, I did. Sure. It's just been a while, and I have a horrible memory. I actually kind of like that movie, but don't tell anyone.
I do too. Don't tell anyone. Good thing no one's going to listen to this. Yeah, that's one like where people are like, and then John Carpenter lost it and made Ghosts of Mars. And I was like, I kind of liked it. Pay no attention to me. I do remember, coming up soon is this moment where Superman is sinking into this bed of skulls. I remember seeing that in the trailer and going, what is going on? And some people were like, I think it's a dream sequence. And then sure enough, it was. But hey, for everybody who wanted Superman in the black suit,
there you go.
You're welcome. You're welcome. There it is. That shot that was just a moment ago with Zod standing amongst that storm, just standing straight up and not moving is really great.
Yes, it is. Actually, everything in this sequence is really well shot. Just, it's a weird sequence.
This is again, it's one of those weird dream sequences that Zack likes so much. But it gets the point across that Zod isn't interested in sharing the planet.
I mean, there's been a lot of talk of it recently, and I've seen people even discuss it in regards to him specifically. You get a lot of these villains where they have this motive that you kind of get, even if you don't agree with their methods. I don't know if that style of villain has ever been better done than what it is in this film. Mm-hmm. Like, for my money, and obviously I've seen plenty of them, I can't think of a single comic book villain I like more than Michael Shannon's General Zod. Not one in any movie.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree with you. I think he's one of the greats. Again, coming from a casting that I was not, that I did not find to be a no-brainer, and then he just kills it. This Zod is one of the best, I think, comic villains put to screen. I love it.
Well, Milks and I had a somewhat of a familiarity with him. Me because of Boardwalk Empire, and Milks because of some, is it Mike Nichols did the movies, I think it was. Take Shelter and a couple other ones. Anyway, we kind of went through his catalog back, as this movie was being filmed, and we were like, yeah, this guy's something.
So that guy was the other Smallville guy I was talking about. He was in Smallville. He took over as Lex. Like Lex's brain got
this guy here.
This guy, yeah, that guy right there.
Huh.
He was in Smallville too. He was like a Lex stand-in at I don't know. Anyway, I can't remember the details. It's been a while, but yeah, he was kind of Lex for a while when Michael Rosenbaum quit the show. And someone
Then they kind of retconned Lex when he was like in some kind of a breathing apparatus in the back of a van and blew up or something.
I think that was that guy.
Okay.
It might have been that. I was going to say, some Smallville fan is screaming right now going, oh, what was this? And you're right. I don't remember what it was.
I've seen every episode of Smallville one time. So it's...
Me too.
And I like the show, especially like pre-season 5.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. I like the show a lot, but I have not rewatched the entire thing. Thank God Lois put this key in. Thank you, Lois. And again, oh, how satisfying when it just clicks in place. It reminds me of those internet videos where it's like some of the most satisfying things you'll ever see, where it's like dough being folded and stuff being cut. That key.
You're so easily happy.
You know, I just like things to be in their place.
Oh, it's the OCD. I hadn't considered that. Yeah,
it absolutely is. So this sequence between Lois and Jor-El. This is one of my favorite sequences in the film, and yes, this is the music. It's so good, and it's not on the score, and it drives me nuts because it's so good.
Yeah, her whole escape through this is really cool, really well done.
Oh, it's amazing.
The multiple Jor-Els throughout the different places, and his little hand gestures opening and closing doors throughout.
Well, and that music, it's so propulsive, and it's got so much momentum, and it's so fantastic. Lois's escape is badass.
I remember
it's shot is amazing.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say the way it's shot is amazing because how they don't cut away, but you still get those multiple Jor-Els in the same shot.
Right.
Is amazing.
I remember some of us talking after seeing the movie, and we're like, yeah, instead of doing the Jedi hand gesture when I open automatic doors, now I'm going to do that whole opening hand thing.
Right. I like that. Oh, you done messed up now? The way he slinks away, it reminds me of kind of like Dark City, Mr. Hand. This part of Man of Steel is brought to you by the International House of Pancakes.
And now I just have Wendy's Twitter going through my head. Thank you.
There you go. Boom. Yeah, this sequence is so awesome. I just want that in my house. I want a holographic Russell Crowe to show me around my house.
I was just going to say, I want Russell Crowe to direct me everywhere I go. This is what I need in my life.
For life. Yeah. He'll point me to the bathroom. You must hurry. Move your butt cheek to the left.
Another thing I was never clear on, that was another female, not Fayor, right?
Right.
Okay. Because I never remember seeing like another close-up of one that's not all decked out in mask and armor.
Well, I think she was the one who put Lois in the cell to begin with because she didn't have her helmet on at that point. We can't rewind it now, but when you get a chance.
See, I need Russell Crowe to tell me this sort of thing in my life so I can punch a giant hole in a wall.
I know.
He's so good. He is so good.
I also love the setup of let me tell you in case I don't get a chance to tell Cal how you can use the Phantom Drive to stop Zod, because here there's not time for a lot of talking, but you can save them all. See, now this Jesus moment I forgive. This Jesus, if there's a moment that should be a Jesus moment, it should follow you can save them all. And it's held just long enough without overdoing it. Some people feel they overdid it. I think it was like just when you think they're going to overdo it, he turns and it's over. And then Superman starting, little does he know this is going to become a hobby for the rest of his life of saving Lois Lane.
Well, she has a tendency of putting herself in predicaments that requires assistance from time to time.
She gets writer's block unless she's wearing a flak jacket.
I love Diane Lane's facial expression right here.
Mm-hmm. And let's give it up for Martha.
What the hell is that?
Martha's about to come face to face with an army of alien badasses, and she ain't gonna blink.
Nope.
Because she is Martha Kent, and she don't have time for your shit. That's a beautiful shot of Superman and Lois coming down. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, these two haven't had any moments to bond whatsoever.
Right there in the corn, make you feel at home, Jamie?
It does.
See, I feel like this is why she says this is, oh, I didn't want to tell them anything, but they looked into my mind. I think that line of dialogue is in there to show why Zod wanted her.
Got it.
That's my guess, because it doesn't really amount to much else other than to say that was what she was there for. I love how quickly he blasts off as soon as he knows there's trouble on the Kent farm.
Yeah, he ain't playing at this point.
Oh, this is going to be one of my favorite moments coming right up. Oh.
The threaten my mother thing?
Yep.
So
my God. I couldn't wipe the smile off my face in the theater.
Atta girl. Go to hell, she told him.
Yeah. Atta girl. Oh, Feora, you should respect your elders. I like her old lady shoes as they dangle there. Poor Diane Lane has to wear old lady shoes.
She's just selling the character, man. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Or maybe in Kansas, that's what teenagers wear. We don't know.
It's true. She didn't search very long. I guess, well, I was going to say maybe she used her X-ray vision, but she doesn't have it as long as she's wearing that helmet, so never mind.
Why wouldn't she have the X-ray vision? She's got the power to jump over the building.
Oh, I guess that's true. But Zod doesn't get the X-ray vision until he takes off the helmet in a minute.
Yeah, inconsistencies with powers are kind of a thing.
Yeah. All right, so this part, yes, amazing. You think you can threaten my mother. Oh, you done crossed the line, Zod. There are some things you just don't mess with, and one of those things is a boy's mom.
And 7-Eleven.
And 7-Eleven. So yeah, this was the coming up the shot that was in the trailer where he rips the cape off. Boom. And that was the one that people colored to be like, this could be Lex's power suit. And here we go. So yeah, it seems like they were able to use like their strength without the helmet, or with the helmet. But the X-ray vision didn't kick in until it came off. I never thought about that until just now. But again, a really smart writing here. It makes a lot of sense that Clark has his whole life to deal with this, and we see it earlier in the film, in that great moment where he's locked himself in the closet, and then Zod getting it all at once and not knowing how to deal with it. It's a great way to get the advantage over Zod and his people in this moment.
I love it when he loses his shit. That scowl that he gets on his face is amazing.
Which one, Zod or Superman?
Zod.
Okay. Yeah. There's that cool American flag banner on that building, because there's like that shot that I think it was a promo shot of him standing in front of it. It's pretty cool.
I love that great big tall Kryptonian too.
Yeah, that bastard. There was a toy of him and he had a name.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing a lot of toys for this.
I have quite a few of them. Like I said, I was excited for this movie the way I would for a Batman movie. So I like scoured toys for this.
I love the feel of the Old West showdown happening at high noon with people going into buildings and locking doors behind them.
And I love that moment where he says, everybody get inside, it's not safe. You know, just those little Superman moments.
He doesn't care about people, though.
Oh, never mind. I think I heard him wrong. I think he said, everybody, get in front of me.
Operation Get Behind the Humans.
Operation Human Shield. But yeah, the Battle of Smallville. I remember hearing about this before the movie came out. I remember them saying, so that moment, faster than a speeding bullet.
You got me wanting to go find the toy of the giant Kryptonian guy now.
Yeah, it's out there. I think he came in like a multi-pack, though. I don't think he was on his own. But yeah, so when Colonel Hardy shoots up the street and Superman runs away faster than a speeding bullet, and in a minute here, he's going to be stronger than a locomotive. But he never leaps over a high building in a single bound. That never happens. I was like, come on, you had 2 out of 3, Zack. All you need to do was hit the third.
That was really good there.
Yeah. Oh, and the IHOP. Oh my God, this is why they needed to rebrand, because they needed to rebuild.
Hey, Pete, how you doing? Clark?
Her?
This is a great little exchange between these two here, verbally and physically.
Who would have thought in a Superman movie there would be an epic showdown in an IHOP? But yeah, she's so badass.
Yes, she is. I can't even try to pronounce her name, but I do like her. Wasn't she the one that was going to give up on acting when Zack Snyder cast her for this?
I think.
I don't know if it was her or the one that played Lara. Because I can't pronounce either one of their names, to be honest with you. Yeah. That was the first shot released for the movie right there.
Yeah, him in front of the safe. Yep. She is just so cold. But yeah, I remember that first shot. Oh, so excited.
This is where some really clever things start happening. He tries to fly away and get the cape grabs and all that stuff.
Oh, is this where you wanted to yell no capes?
No, not at all, because I love capes. But
yeah, this moment, but like the three-way fight between Feora and that big dude who has a name. This where I was like, yeah, now we're talking. This is kind of where I was like, I've never seen this in a Superman movie. This is what I've been waiting for. I think the product placement in this sequence. Oh, there you go. Boom. The product placement in the sequence, a little distracting. Because over the course of a couple seconds, you see the IHOP, you see the 7-Eleven, you see the Sears. Pretty soon, in a minute, you're going to see a U-Haul, where it's just like, all right, come on, guys.
Well, I mean, to be fair, most of these things aren't going to exist in the middle of a major metropolitan city. At least not in a visible fashion. These guys shoot a lot.
They sure do. This is where Hardy still thinks that Superman... See, there you go. There's the U-Haul truck. Boom. But yeah, this is where they were like, okay, we have all these...
He don't save nobody, remember. He don't save nobody.
Oh, I love that. I love this. Boom. Oh, so good. But yeah, this scene is where Zack's like, okay, I have all these contractual product placements. I got to get out of the way. Let's just do it all at once.
I've seen a lot of people complain about it. Frankly, it doesn't bother me. I don't find it overly distracting because, I mean, you would see that stuff going through a town like this.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's not a big deal. It's pretty normal for most of these movies, but it's, I guess, because it's all concentrated, I think is why it's a little more distracting than usual.
Love that shot. Packer? Love that shot. Love that shot of her.
Yeah, when she just cuts loose. Oh, it's terrific. And yeah, and this is where you finally get to see Superman throw down with this guy. I gotta say, Hardy here, he doesn't have superpowers, but he is a stubborn SOB.
He's got zero quit in him.
He ain't giving up. I love it. He knows he doesn't have a prayer, but he's gonna go down swinging. See, she respects it too. This is where, I mean, like, can't you just feel the sexual tension? Mm. It's kind of like moonlighting.
He pulls out his knife and she pulls out her big giant knife. Yeah.
Yeah. Boom. I respect his chutzpah. He's going after her with a knife now.
I've mentioned before over the time, but I'll just take this opportunity to do it because that guy's a good embodiment of it. Zack Snyder seems to have a tremendous amount of respect for military personnel. Just like here, this guy's got no quit in him whatsoever. He's going to fight till the very end, even in a hopeless circumstance with no powers against, indomitable odds and what have you. And then he basically lets the soldiers name him in this movie. I mean, just little things like that. I appreciate that quite a bit.
Yeah. So that was more powerful than a locomotive. And when Feyre says, for every human you save, we'll kill 1 million more, that means they're going to kill 0 because Superman doesn't save anybody. See, now you got me doing it.
It's funny because it's true.
Thanks a lot, Jamie. So they're going to have a slow day. Aw, she looks so angelic when she sleeps. Not nearly so mean.
Those ships look like sea turtles. Not that I have anything against that. They just do.
I always thought they looked like cockroaches. Or like bugs, beetles,
Maybe.
But they're cool. Again, I feel like the design of this film, they worked really hard to do things that didn't look like anything else. Where you didn't look at that ship and go, oh yeah, it's kind of like Independence Day, or they came with very unique designs, so they looked very unique to this film. And what do you got to do to get Colonel Hardy's respect around this place? Apparently have a whole drag out battle in the middle of a small town, and he'll finally be like, okay, I guess we'll stop shooting at you. I guess.
Love this line.
It's about time, Hardy. Welcome to the party, pal. Took him a minute to get with the program.
There, he leapt over a tall building in a single bound right there.
Oh.
Kind of, sort of, maybe.
Little Sears. And as you should, your house gets wrecked. What do you save? The photos. That's the rule.
They are the one irreplaceable thing in any home.
Yep, always save the photos. It's very real to me. And when she goes, it's just stuff. It can be replaced. A couple weeks ago, you remember this. There were fires in my area, and Samantha was freaking out a little bit. She goes, I don't know what to do. And I go, we grabbed the photos. Everything else can be replaced. And the cats, obviously.
I was going to say, you left the cats, though, right?
No, we're taking the cats. Cats in the photos.
Get the Robin statue, too.
Yes, obviously. I haven't unpacked it yet. It's buried in the garage somewhere. I need to find it.
I love the openness of Martha Kent right there.
Yeah.
Isn't that a good thing? We're going to share the planet with your people? That'll be nice, right, Clark?
Yeah, I know. Oh, he just called someone Jax-er. Is it the fake Lex? Him?
Probably.
Was that Jax-er?
Probably, because that's the only guy he's really talking to in this scene that I can think of.
The Codex. Yeah, it's just still a little weird to me.
I guess.
The DNA of 1 billion people in his cells. It's just a little weird to me. I go with it because they don't make it like a big deal. They don't try to say, I was afraid they were going to try to say that's why Superman has powers or something, and they never do that. So I was okay with it. And they released the World Engine. Shit's about to get real. These jerks. Something else I thought was so clever is the fact that the World Engine and the ship work in conjunction.
Yes.
That's something I've never really seen before. That the fact that there's two and they have to be on opposite ends of the planet, because it makes things really challenging when you're just Superman. Which allows Hardy and Lois to be useful in the final battle.
There's some really beautiful cinematography in this.
I would agree with you. Yeah, this scary thing. And again, this is I love that this all carries over into Batman versus Superman.
Exactly.
I'm such a, I mean, you know that. I'm such a continuity nerd. I love it when something carries over so it all feels like an extension. And Zack Snyder really did that well between this and between Batman versus Superman. Those threads feel so consistent.
I agree, and to the point where, like I say, I watched this morning for the first time in probably about a year or so. And after I got done watching it, the very first thing I wanted to do was go get my BVS off the shelf and put that in so I could at least start watching that and watch the parallels of the Battle of Metropolis, at least at the beginning there.
Yeah, same thing. As soon as this sequence of the film started, I went, oh no, I want to watch Batman versus Superman. I want to make it a double feature.
So, fun fact, I've never actually watched the two back to back. The closest I've ever done was watching Man of Steel the night before I saw BVS the first time.
I don't think I've ever watched them back to back. That's a long day. I can't find 6 hours of my day to do that. Are you kidding me? And the other thing about the way this thing works, the way it goes in waves where it sucks up and then slams down and then sucks up and then slams down. Like, that's also super different, super unique, something I've never seen before. And it's really scary.
It's menacing, yes.
It's really scary. Because every time it does it, it's going to get closer and closer, which they take full advantage of in just a couple minutes. But again, it was a very different way to do something that we have seen in other movies of the big alien ship in the sky over the major city. It's doing it in a different way. And this is where Emil Hamilton, thank God for this guy, he figures it out. They're terraforming. They're changing the planet. And coming up, I love the moment where she says, what does this mean for us? And he goes, if I'm reading this right, there won't be an us.
That's a really sci-fi alien invasion disaster movie moment, but
yeah,
that's not a complaint.
Oh, and the first naming of Superman right here. I was really worried, and it's a stupid worry, but going into this movie, I was like, are they going to call him Superman? Please call him Superman. And so when that happened, I was like, oh, good. Because they teased you with that moment in the interrogation room. And I was like, don't toy with me now. This is Superman. And so when that happened, they're like, that's what they're calling him. Okay, so this scene, to me, is my favorite scene with Henry Cavill as Superman. He is so commanding in this scene where I'm like, I'm watching Superman. He so blew me away in this moment where he's breaking the plan down with all these guys. He's so Superman here.
So the guy that plays Hamilton also plays there's a TV series on HBO called Ballers that has Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in the lead role. It's a good series. I like it, but I'm a football guy, so I would. But he plays Dwayne Johnson's boss in that show, and he's kind of a prick. So it's kind of interesting to see. I mean, I know actors act and do different things, but I mean, like polar opposite type of characters that he did in those two things. So,
are you talking about Richard Schiff?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He was also torn in two by two T-Rexes in The Lost World.
I don't know what movie that is.
The Lost World?
I don't
Jurassic
know.
Park?
Nope, I don't know anything about it.
All right. So they set up that things are becoming more like Krypton.
That's the shot from that teaser right there that I thought was from Iron Man. Still cool. I mean, it was cool when Iron Man did it. It was cool when Superman did it. But
it's cool. It's just not enough of a money shot that it got me excited because I was like, oh, I've seen Superman fly before.
Right.
This is nothing new. But yeah, that was what they used for the money shot in that first teaser. But yeah, the fact that he's got to go to the Indian Ocean, he's got to be on the other side of the planet in order to stop this machine. It shows he can't be in two places at once. He needs a league to help him.
If only there was a way to put that together.
If only there were some others. But yeah, the fact that they set up that he's not going to be quite as powerful as normal because of the changes to the Earth, raising the stakes a little bit. And I do love that Lois is in this with Hardy. They're doing this together.
I once had somebody tell me that they thought it was stupid that Superman wasn't dealing with the threat in Metropolis and the other people weren't dealing with the threat in the Indian Ocean, to which I had to stop them right there and say, do you know of a C-130 that can make it to the other side of the planet in under 4 minutes?
Well, that's what I was going to say. I've been on flights to Europe. It takes all day. So by the time they got to the Indian Ocean, there wouldn't be an Earth.
My point is, some people just want to bitch about stuff. And I fully acknowledge that this movie isn't perfect, but by God, is it enjoyable.
Yeah. It's not perfect, but some of the complaints levied at it, I'm like, you're just trying to find things to hate.
Exactly.
I mean, you've heard me. I'll pick out little things where I'm like, yeah, this part could have used a little work. But man, overall, there's so much great stuff in here. I am not complaining. This was my favorite movie of 2013. And I've never regretted that choice. It is, I've gone back to it a lot over these 5 years because it is a great Superman movie.
Well, spoilers, this is still my favorite DCEU movie.
So I do love that we've got this liquid metal-ish security system on the World Engine. I think that is super cool. Seeing Superman take that on, that is so comic book.
Yes. In fact, I remember that real brief shot of that final mechanical claw coming toward the screen from the final trailer, and some of us were like, that's not Starro, is it? Is that Starro? Is he fighting Starro?
Huh. But yeah, I mean, we are in the thick of it here. There is nothing but chaos and destruction in Metropolis. Superman is fighting tentacles of death down in the Indian Ocean. Things have gotten pretty bad.
Ra's al Ghul gets a grip and starts leading people out the building.
Why you gotta do that?
Because I'm sad that it will never happen. Don't get me wrong, he's a great Perry White, but he would have been an even better Ra's al Ghul.
I like that you've doubled down on that.
Well, I mean, I know I made the mistake in not remembering. I fully acknowledge I made the mistake in not remembering.
You took one of your biggest blunders and you're like, I'm owning it.
Dude, I made a mistake. Hey, what are you going to do? I mean, call me if you haven't made a mistake. Otherwise, I don't care what you have to say. But anyway, the point is, I started thinking in my head as I was going over that list and hearing him say detective in his voice. I've never been able to shake that. So I'm always going to be kind of disappointed that I'll never hear it for real.
Oh, damn. Don't crush Jenny. She's everyone's favorite character.
I actually kind of like her.
I have no strong opinion either way. I don't dislike her.
She is half of selling one of the stronger emotional moments in the movie for me, which is coming up here shortly, and we'll circle back around to it when it happens. So that's kind of why I appreciate her character a little more.
I fully expected in the sequel, which we're all still patiently waiting for, I totally expected her to introduce her little brother, Jimmy, who is a photographer.
I actually assumed she was Jimmy.
Well, that was the big controversy. It's like, oh, they replaced Jimmy Olsen and made it Jenny Olsen. But number one, they never say Jenny Olsen in this movie. They just say Jenny.
No, it was simply an assumption. That's all it was.
But, I mean, she does kind of fit that role, which, again, to get more parity between male and female characters, I don't think there's a problem there. But I totally expected, right
here. Zod's about to go Twitter petty right here.
Yeah.
Just angry. He knows he's talking to a computer. He knows he's not talking to a real person. It's a computer. So he's just going to go petty as hell right here.
Listen, for the amount of times I've cussed out my computer and Skype, I get it. I don't threaten its family, though. That's weird. But anyway, yes, I expected Jenny to have a little brother who she would get a job at the Daily Planet, but that never came to pass.
Nope. Instead, Jimmy died in the desert in Africa.
Anyway,
you talk about something I don't have any real strong feelings about. I mean, I understand Jimmy Olsen's involvement in the Superman mythos, but he's not a character I care about if they changed, really. I mean, it's not something that affected me either way.
I just feel like there are certain parts and pieces of the Superman mythos that, like, they've got to be there. The Daily Planet's got to be there. Perry White's got to be there. And I feel that way about Jimmy Olsen. I don't think Jimmy Olsen is anyone's favorite character, but I just feel like he should be there. But I was never offended by the inclusion of Jenny the way I think some people were. So yeah, here we go. This is where we do get that ticking clock of those waves of destruction getting closer and closer, where Perry, Jenny, and Lombard are kind of trapped in this place.
They all sell it so well, and in all respect to, is his name Michael Kelly or David Kelly? I never remember what it is. He's been in a ton of stuff. Lombard. Jenny and Perry White just absolutely sell this scene beautifully.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, she's great here.
Lombard obviously contributes too, but the emotion conveyed when Perry turns back to her and gives her that hand, and he knows what's coming, but he will not leave her because he told her he's not going to leave her. It's just so strong. Mm-hmm. I've heard, and I've never seen any confirmation, that there is actually a scene here where they put Christopher Reeve's face on him as he's going up.
Have you seen the actual like GIF or the stills?
I've seen. I can watch the movie and I can see where you would see that happens. I just don't know if it's an optical illusion or if it's actually that they put his face there.
Yeah, it is.
In fact, it's coming right here.
Yeah, right there. Here when he looks up. Right there. Yep. It looks like it, without a doubt. No one's ever confirmed it, so I don't know. If that, again, like you said, if that's just an optical illusion of Henry Cavill looking enough like him.
Yeah.
But yeah, no one's ever confirmed it to my knowledge.
I love that.
And there you go. I love Superman just using every last bit of strength in him by pure force of will to go through and destroy that thing. Goodbye, World Engine. We'll see you at the beginning of Batman vs. Superman. And somewhere during this, Bruce Wayne is just ripping through the streets of Metropolis. And Superman is taking a well-deserved nap.
Saving the world's tough work, man.
I hear you. Take the rest of the day off, Soups. You've done your thing. Go enjoy some Carl's Jr. on me. It's so sad that they have to use Superman's baby basket to defeat the bad guy.
You know, there comes a time where you have to let go of the past, I guess.
Well, that's good advice for this movie in general. I remember people being like, Jonathan Kent doesn't die in a tornado. He dies of a heart attack. I'm like, actually, if you read the comics, he doesn't die at all. So, you want to fight about it?
Most people probably do. I'm having technical difficulties here, so I'm trying to get caught back up to you.
Oh no, what happened? Restreaming?
My player just all of a sudden decided to stop.
Oh, so you said you were watching the Blu-ray.
I am. I'm watching the 4K Blu-ray of all things. And still.
Well, anyway, Superman is back. He's never looked better, and in he goes into the ship. I guess it's not Zod's ship. It was the scout ship. Because it has the Genesis chamber. And this is that moment where Superman has to make that final decision. That Krypton has its chance. I mean, what else are you going to do at that point?
Right. It's kind of heartbreaking though, because I mean,
it is. It's a tough.
You feel the emotion of both of them at that point, because one's trying to save his current planet, and one's trying to save his former planet, and one's methods may be a little bit stronger, obviously his intentions and whatnot, but you get where both sides are coming from with it.
Yeah, it is a moral quandary. But I mean, I think that is a big part of this film, is Clark deciding where is his home, where does he belong.
Oh,
and
here's why I'm having a problem. I've got a software update that's trying to do right in the middle of a friggin' movie. This couldn't wait, huh?
It's shut off the movie so it could update your software.
Yeah, that's what it's telling me.
That is insanity.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess we'll just keep going.
Thank God I watched it this morning, so it's fresh on the brain here.
Oh my God.
I'm trying to get back up with it here, but I gotta.
Oh, geez, I'm so sorry.
I'm going to my digital copy, so please guide me through where we're at.
Sure. Anyway, they finally figured out to twist that thing on the Clark ship, and Feora is now on the plane, causing a ruckus. But there she is. She just saw her boyfriend Hardy again. Taking no guff, and Hamilton's about to push in the command key.
I love how he just gets that look on his face and kind of cocks his head to the side and is like, that doesn't look right. And just turns it and it fixes the problem.
Yeah, he's a smart dude.
He is a very smart dude.
And he finally turns it on. It always made me sad that he ends up in the Phantom Zone. Because, again, kind of like Jimmy Olsen, it's like, oh, I want Emil Hamilton to come back. And thank God Lois falls out, because otherwise she'd be spent. If Hardy ends up with Feora, she'd end up with Emil Hamilton. That would be her Phantom Zone husband.
Phantom Zone husband. That just sounds so obscure.
Yeah, it's a thing. And she is falling. I sure hope Superman is nearby. Oh, Lois.
She does like falling from really high places.
Yeah. True. I just love this look of fear, like of her looking over his shoulder, and Superman using again everything that he's got to just get away from that little Phantom Zone black hole. And that is that. End of movie. Everything worked out.
Honestly, I actually did think that was the end of the movie the first time I watched it.
It is one of those good movie fake outs. Like, I can't remember what other movie we talked about it in, but there have been a couple movies where they lead you to believe it's over, and then it starts back up again. And this is a perfect example of that, because it does feel like, oh, everything's fine, you know? World engine is destroyed. Bad guy sucked into the Phantom Zone. Finally, the kiss between Superman and Lois is a pretty dumb line. It only counts when you're kissing a human. But yeah, you're like, oh, big, happy ending. But no, there's more, because one SOB also has got no quit in him, and it ain't Hardy, it's Zod. But this, again, we talked about a lot of moments of amazing performance by Michael Shannon, and this is one of them, where he's got the dust in his hands, and he's got nothing left. His mission is gone. He's got nothing left to live for. You chose the humans over us, and he kind of lays it out one last time. I only exist to protect Krypton, and now I don't have that anymore. So
is that where you're at? Is in the middle of his little monologue there?
Yeah, his little speech. Every action I take, no matter how violent or cruel,
is for the good of my people.
Is for the greater good of my people. Yeah. And this is, you feel his mission. He just doesn't go about it the best way. But, oh yeah, when he says, I have no people. Oh.
I might be just a little bit ahead of you. I finally got it queued back up on my digital copy here, and Clark just flew him into the building.
Yeah, you're a little ahead of me.
Damn it.
And yeah, now that the big final battle begins. And again, I apologize for my deaf cat who likes to scream when he's bored.
Tell me when you get to the point where his eyes start glowing red with the heat vision, and I'll hit play and we'll be same page again.
Okay. So Clark does this cool hover where he's like, you're a monster and I'm going to stop you. And this is the Clash of the Titans right there in the middle of it. And off they go into the building.
Boy, Shannon.
So now they are in the empty office building, and this is where Zod finds out that he also has heat vision, and he lets it loose.
Yes, he does. He sells rage and I don't want to say agony, just like being pissed off. He sells it extremely well.
Yeah.
Is this the office where there's supposedly a thing about keep calm and call Batman? Because I still have never seen that.
I've seen it in a still. I think it is in there.
And down comes that building. To which I directly correlate the whole guy praying as the building comes down when he's on the phone with Bruce Wayne.
And there's the LexCorp truck.
Still see a lot of people pissed off about that scene. Don't know why.
Because he jumps over it instead of stopping it.
I guess they assume there's people in that parking garage. I don't know why that assumption's made. I mean, there's kind of people everywhere, so.
So again, much like the Battle of Smallville, I waited forever to see a Superman battle on this scale, and I finally got it in this movie. So I was so shocked after the movie came and went and everybody complained about this battle, because for me, I was in heaven. I was like, yes, this is the big epic Superman action sequence that we've never seen, because we've never gotten a Superman movie in modern times that could, where effects could handle something of this scope. Right. And so I was just so happy with this. I thought it was exciting. It was fun. It was interesting. It's just a great, one of my favorite superhero final battles.
I love this entire movie, but this final sequence, I remember Roman seeing this like a couple weeks before it came out and telling me that the final battle sequence in the film made the Avengers look like a walk in the park or something like that. I mean, I was like, what, really? Because, everybody was still really high on Avengers at this point. So,
yeah, it was just a year later.
Right. And to be clear, I'm still really high on the first Avengers. That's all the other ones I'm not.
No, I agree. I do remember hearing that. So yeah, like for me, this battle was it was everything I wanted. This is where Sam checks out. She said she feels like the movie should have ended with that kiss in the amongst the dust.
Yeah.
At that point, she's like, yeah, it's good. I'm done. And she goes, and then it just more fighting. And I'm like, yeah, I like that part.
Well, being a big fan of skyscraper fatalities as I am, obviously this appeals to my senses.
Yeah. Yeah, I just think it is so visually stunning and exciting, and I wish I could hear the music right now, but I can't.
Him flying through there and looking for him amongst those buildings at that quicker speed right there, beautifully shot, well done.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Like the whole searching in between. Oh, this was the no capes part, right?
No, but I do love that scene.
I swear you said after this movie, you're like, oh, I was going to yell out no capes.
No, not me.
I'm
love
pretty
capes.
Sure it was you. I'm
totally
pretty sure
not
it was
me.
you. No, pretty sure. And then we get, this is why we're allowed to do this episode on Holy BatCast, because we get the
Wayne Tech.
the Wayne Industries satellite. It counts. But again, like that's an Easter egg, but it is so quick and easy to miss. Zack does not call attention to it.
I didn't see it the first time I watched it. Somebody had to tell me it was there.
Yeah, you have to look for it. You wouldn't see it unless you were looking for it.
I mean, I did see this in the theater 6 times. I'm sure I would have caught it eventually, but somebody pointed it out to me after the first time I saw it in a discussion. So, I forget. Did you see this before we saw it together or no?
Yes, okay. I saw it the night before with my buddy Dillip, and then I saw it with you guys. Must have been Friday or Saturday afternoon.
That sounds right.
I think I saw it with him Friday and with you guys Saturday.
Okay. And obviously one of the most controversial scenes in modern cinema history.
Yeah.
To which I still have no problem with, by the way.
No, me either. But here's the thing: is like I talked about the tornado, like should have been more of a no-win situation. This, I feel, they did a great job of making it a no-win situation. Like I've heard people, he could put his hand over his eyes. It's like, did you not see what that heat vision did previously in the film? You can't just put your hands over it. It doesn't work that way. It has force. So,
and he literally says right then and there, he's begging him to stop. He's begging him to stop. And he says, never. Mm-hmm. So he's not going to quit. I mean, there's literally one solution he's got there.
He said it at the beginning. This only ends with either you dead or me.
Right.
I
know everybody holds Superman to that higher pedestal that he should have been able to find a way, but none of those people have ever been able to tell me what that way is in 5 years' time.
See, now this I love, and this is what sells it for me, is Cavill's performance after he does kill Zack.
The pain that he feels.
The scream of anguish is just so visceral and powerful. I love it.
I don't know why I always assume that's a train station, because it's not.
I thought it was too. And then we've got check back in with Stanwyck. Was trying to hunt Superman with a drone, and Superman is like, nah.
It's weird. I'm watching this without the subtitles. I can still hear all the dialogue in my head. But again, I did watch this morning when I got up, so it's really fresh in my brain right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, and again, it is one of those. Again, this is, I think, one of those things where, don't tell him where you grew up. Don't tell him you grew up in Kansas. Don't tell him you're 33. Don't tell him you grew up in Kansas. That's the kind of stuff that bugs me. Because the whole point is you're trying to figure out where I'm from, but you're not going to. But I'll give you a clue. Anyway, point is, the whole thing of like, oh, what if Superman was in our world? Yeah, the government would be like, we need to keep tabs on this guy. We need to follow this guy. And Superman be a step ahead and be like, you can't. I've got your back, but on my terms.
I just think he's kind of hot.
Yeah. I saw that take some grief too. It's not the best line ever, but she's not wrong.
I get it. We spent a lot of time in this cemetery over the span of 2 movies. You notice that?
Yeah, I know. I don't mind.
I don't either.
I can be morbid.
Have I mentioned how much I love Diane Lane lately?
You can say it again. I don't mind.
Okay. Is he wearing a cape here, or is it just like a towel stuck to his back?
It's a towel stuck to his back.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I mean, it's stuck to his back like a cape.
But I mean, it's not something that he put on as a cape to go.
No, I think he did.
Okay.
I think he did.
I thought it was kind of unintentional, because see how he's messing with it right there?
How would it
almost
be?
Like he ran under the clothesline and it just kind of stuck to him?
No, I think he's playing hero. I did see people go, well, then who's he emulating if there's no Superman? And I'm like, I mean, there are movies and TV. It's not hard to believe that there aren't comic books and things. Like, capes are not abnormal. So this, we're getting in towards the end of the film here.
Love this portion of the score as well, by the way.
Oh, the score is great. This moment is great, where we're going to finally get our first look at essentially the Clark Kent we all know, reporter Clark Kent. It takes the whole movie to get there, because this is Superman Begins. I love that. But I've heard people go, oh, did Perry know he was Superman? And the assumption is he does. But did Superman and Perry really interact at all?
No.
I feel like they don't.
No, they didn't.
So he wouldn't necessarily know that.
Why would he know that unless Lois told him?
Yeah, I don't know. I just remember that being a question.
Not to mention the fact it pretty much negates anything that Perry says in BVS.
Yeah, so I don't think he does know.
No, he doesn't.
Because they never really interact. But anyway, I think that this ending of this film is amazing.
It's brilliant.
It's the perfect note to go out on. Welcome to the planet. Like, brilliant. Bravo. Well done. Glad to be here, Lois. Ah, that smile on his face. He's finally figured out where he belongs and who he is and what he's going to do and what he's going to be. And that music kicks in, that soaring Hans Zimmer score that fills my heart with joy. And it is a beautiful ending to the film.
Could not agree more.
So, yeah, that final scene is a thing of perfect beauty. I love it. And now we get closing credits, all set to that magnificent Hans Zimmer score. There is not a post-credit scene, I do remember, because we all sat there waiting for one, and it did not happen.
I distinctly recall the guy announcing before the Navy Pier IMAX show that we were at. He's like, when the credits start, get up and leave so we can get this place clean, because this ain't a Marvel film and there's no post-credit sequence.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, he specifically said it. He's like, get up and move that direction to get out of here so we can get this place locked down. Apparently, they run a really tight ship there at Navy Pier.
Yeah.
Because what I want is to overpay double on a ticket that I would pay at my home prices. Because I think the tickets back then were like, and we were, I don't think it was a 3D showing. I think it was 2D. Or was it 3D? Oh, God, I can't remember now. But it's like
I want to say it was 3D.
It was like $14 tickets, which for me in the middle of a daytime, $14 tickets are pretty excessive. So what I want is to pay excessive ticket prices for somebody to herd my ass out of the theater in a really big hurry. And fun fact, every time I watch this movie when it's over, I always want to go eat at Billy Goat's.
Perfect. I'll meet you there. Well, yeah, they take us home with the credits, so why don't we give some closing thoughts on Man of Steel. It's been 5 years. We've seen it countless times in those 5 years. We did do the initial review on Real Fans for Real Movies back in 2013. You weren't able to be there for the in-depth review. And maybe someday we'll do a different type of look at this film on this show. But
yeah, it'll turn 10 in 5 years, so we'll come back to it.
Exactly. As long as I'm still alive and this show is still a thing. Oh, wait, we get the logo. So that's our mid-credit scene, is the Man of Steel Superman logo. But yeah, some closing thoughts on Man of Steel after 5 years, Jamie.
I loved the film when I first saw it. Most of the thoughts that I carried with the film when I first saw it are still valid today. And for me, this is aging very much like a fine wine. I see no further cracks other than little nitpick things that we talked about as we went through this commentary here that some other movies have developed over time for me. I think this movie might actually be getting better in its old age. I'm not sure. Maybe that's just me aging with it or something. But I think this is a great movie. I think this, to me, was an excellent launching point for a DC cinematic universe. And I liked where it went. And obviously not everybody did. So changes have to be made. But this is still my favorite one of the group. And I like all the other ones to varying degrees. But this one still has yet to be exceeded. And I don't know that there's been a superhero film since this one that I would put above it. I kind of have this one on the same level as Winter Soldier, which I believe came out the following year after this. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, obviously we've had some really good ones during that time, but this one just kind of set a bar for me because it was so unique for its time. There wasn't really anything like it before, and there's not been, other than movies that are in this particular series, not much like it since. I like the tone. I appreciate the tone. I appreciate the style, everything about it. So I'm kind of heartbroken that it's not going to continue going forward in most likeliness. But yeah, I've always been with this movie, and frankly, I think I'll always be with it as far as positive outlook.
Yeah, there's still murmurs here and there about a direct sequel. I'd love for it to happen. I'd be all for it. But yeah, it's been 5 years, so it does seem a long time to wait. I'm with you. I love this movie. I continue to love it. Just rewatching it last night and this morning and then again just now with you, I'm just reminded of how much I love it. I don't think it's perfect. I mean, I pointed out a couple things, little things here and there that I'm like, oh yeah, that could have used a little bit of work. But God, for the most part, I think it holds up beautifully, and there's so much to love about it that just transcend those little nitpicks that it's one of my favorite superhero movies. It's I do think it's my favorite Superman movie, and it's definitely one of my favorite superhero origin films and one of my favorite superhero movies. It is up there. When I said it was my favorite movie of 2013, 5 years later, I look back and go, yeah, still is. It held up. To your point, I've got to agree with, I love how unique this film is. It's a movie that feels and looks and sounds unlike almost any other superhero film. And I think that's what sets it apart in a really good way, in a really distinctive way. You had a very distinctive take on this film by Zack Snyder, by Christopher Nolan, and by David Goyer. They came at it from a very different angle and created a very unique Superman film that is still very true to the Superman myth, but as I said, taking it and tweaking it just a little bit, or adding layers and adding new angles and ideas to that myth to make it richer, not to detract from it. And as I watch it and just really enjoy it, I guess I'm still a little baffled by how many fans just outright rejected it. That's something I can't really wrap my head around. Some of the complaints here and there, little bits, I go, okay, sure, you might have a point. But the full-on, this is terrible and I hate it and it's somehow a betrayal of Superman, I just can't understand. I can't wrap my head around that because there's so much good here. So that's still, I find, really confusing 5 years later, because for me, every time I watch it, I'm reminded just how good it is. So this is one of those great superhero films. I love it. And I do hope that we continue to see Henry Cavill as Superman, because he is a great Superman and he made a heck of a debut in this film. Like I said, and after this movie, I was a believer. He's great. So Man of Steel it's one of my favorites, and it remains one of my favorites to this day.
Hear, hear.
Yeah. So 5 years later, Man of Steel, thank you guys so much for watching it with us, or listening to us watch it, even with the technical difficulties that Jamie ran into.
I can't believe it
jinxed
did that.
us. I jinxed us at the beginning going, hey, I'm watching the Blu-ray so that way it can't get screwed up. And you're like, me too. And then yours gets screwed up.
Stupid Sony.
I'm so sorry. So weird.
Dude,
but anyway,
software
we got there.
update smack dab in the middle of watching a disc. I've never seen the likes of it.
I've never seen that happen. Yeah, that's insanity. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for checking us out. Of course, this is Holy BatCast, but this was Man of Steel cast for just this week. But I hope you guys enjoyed revisiting this film with us, because it just had its 5-year anniversary a few days ago. We thought this was a perfect time to revisit it, because we've never really covered it in depth on this show. So we really had a good time doing that, and hopefully you guys had a good time listening to it. Jamie, always a pleasure. Thanks for being my partner in crime. If the folks at home want to keep up with you, can they?
Nope.
Or all right, you can't.
I'm on lockdown. Listen to some podcasts. I'll be on some podcasts pretty regularly, but past that, not really.
Yeah, he's on a little bit of a hiatus.
I love most of you out there. I'm just done with the internet for the moment.
I don't blame you. I get it. I told you where to find me, and you do know where to find the show. Thank you guys for downloading the show. Please do subscribe to the show on iTunes and rate and review us on iTunes. Visit holybatcast.com. Follow the show on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook, Holy BatCast. But that'll do it for this episode. On behalf of Jamie, I've been Andy. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Same super time, same super channel. Yeah.
Yeah, the cat liked it too.
He agrees. This show is a proud part of the Real Fans Podcast Network. You can sample all the shows that are part of the network at rf4rm.com. Those shows include Real Fans for Real Movies, the original show that looks back at films, past and present. There's also Holy BatCast, all about Batman and the DC Universe, There's Disorder, every Disney film that looks back at every Disney animated feature in order. There's Taking the Bullet that looks at bad movies so you don't have to watch them. There's Please Rewind, the RF for RM retro show that looks back at older movies. And finally, there's Grim Grinning Hosts, a salute to all pop culture, but mostly theme parks. Again, you can check out all these shows at rf4rm.com or search for them by name wherever you get your podcasts.
Holy BatCast is brought to you by real fans for real movies. Remember, the thoughts and opinions shared by the participants are theirs and theirs alone, and do not represent the companies or organizations they happen to work for.
Your mother and I believe Krypton had lost something precious. The element of choice, of chance. What if a child dreamed of becoming something other than what society had intended for him or her? What if a child aspired to something greater?